What is up, everybody? Alright, so, they didn't buff Gilius. They didn't buff Gilius. But however, they did buff who I said they would buff if they didn't buff Gilius. So it was Fergus. Which, I'll say this, it's a cool buff because they didn't give him battery, they didn't do something stupid like that. They doubled down on what Fergus is good at, which is see red, press red, so his buff is Buster up and on his defense skill, and then Buster crit damage. So I like that. Like, he doesn't want a rainbow, he doesn't battery, he just booga booga, which is kind of what he's good at anyway. So I like the buff. It's it's a good kind of buff to give him, but yeah, I don't think he needed it that much because he's actually pretty good. Unbeknownst to a lot of people. But yeah, I had a feeling, because I'd said it a few streams ago, that I could see that the devs would think him and Gilius are pretty much in the same boat, even though they're not. But so I'm not shocked that he got the buff, but I really do wish it was Gilius. And if I was gonna pick, I would have picked Gilius, would have gotten it over Fergus, but nope, it's Fergus. And the Saber was Void Shiki, which I think we kind of all saw that coming, because you know, she needed the buff, she was getting rated up, yeah, the arc stuff, you know, it just makes sense, so. Alright, let's jump into Babylonia here. So there's an interview, though, that everyone's been talking about. They did Famitsu, ever say that big magazine name, they did a big bit on FGO, they did some polls, you know, they asked Nasu and stuff, you know, various questions about the game. And, you know, there's actually some pretty nice information there. Wait, which game are you talking about, Kath? That's an important detail. But anyway, so some of the stuff they said in the interview is like kind of good. Like they're saying they're wanting to add more stuff to Lost Vault 7 beyond the story, like wanting to make the game better. So maybe UI updates. You know, they were pretty vague about it. They said they were going to make the coin system better, and they're trying to work on that. So they said as it is now, it's, you know, not what they want it to be, and they're going to try to make it better. So that's good, right? That's good. A lot of good stuff there. But there's also a lot of like stupid shit that I'm like, oh great. So they rightly acknowledged that their events recently have been really bad and repetitive, kind of in a roundabout way. And they're like, yeah, we want to like add more mini games to make them better. And their examples of like good mini games are like the dog event where you just send the dogs out and get loot generically after like 12 hours, right? And then Imaginary Scramble, which was just do free quest, go up point ladder, which opens up the map ultimately in a completely linear fashion. And Nasu's like, yeah, that was a great example of a good event. I'm like, what are you fucking talking about? It's like, those are like, that's just shallow garbage, right? Like all their mini games, air quotes, are like literally just doing 40 AP free quest over and over and have some like, you know, bullshit happen that has nothing to do with you, and you get loot. Like, wow, you know, well, this is so engaging. So yeah, that was pretty concerning to me. And they're like doubling down on Grailfront, which, I mean, Grailfront sucks. Have you played the roguelike in Arknight's Cath? Because I find when most people get around to doing that, they end up enjoying it, so. See, how far in are you there? But yeah, that interview is like half awesome and half horrifying. So, yeah, I don't know. Apparently Sanson is actually one of the more popular 2-stars. So, I mean, I knew Sanson was kind of popular, and I just kind of noticed, like, if you look around on Reddit, Discord, Twitter, whatever, that, like, Sanson has, like, more popularity than a lot of bronzes do. But apparently he's one of the more 120 bronzes, which, you know, we'll see, because right now hardly anyone has anything at 120. Like, it's such a small percentage of the player base right now that, you know, that could change. But it's kind of interesting that, like, his exact placement on popularity through that it's not, I don't think, accurate, but, you know, I'm sure when more people do 120, he'll probably still be on the list, so that was kind of interesting. They polled people on their favorite singularities, you know, and it's the usual suspects, you know, Babylonia, Lost Vault 6, Camelot, Olympus was on there, Shimosa was on there. I can't remember if Atlantis was on there. I think it might have been. But, you know, it's the typical stuff. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it was like Lost Vault 6, Babylonia, Camelot. I think there might have been one other one in the top that I'm forgetting. But that's the typical, you know, big boys. Atlantis was number 2? Really? I thought it might be on there, but I'm surprised it beat Camelot and Babylonia then, because yeah, they're pretty popular. But that's crazy. What I find funny though, I talked about this on Discord, because this is just crazy to me. People are always trying to say Japan doesn't like Lost Belt 5. They are constantly saying that, and it's because like 2 people on Twitter said it when it came out, and then everybody just used that as like representations of. Because I remember like you'd see this on like the wiki. Someone would say Lost Belt 5 is not popular in Japan. Someone would ask why, and then someone who had blatantly done no research, doing a little armchair, opinion, saying, "Oh yeah, they don't like it because of this, and it's bullshit. Because like Olympus and Atlantis are in the top 10. Like yeah, it's not their favorite, right? Like yeah, Lost Belt 5 has not been Japan's absolute favorite FGO story. But they like it just fine, and like, yeah, a few people don't like it, but I don't like Lost Belt 6, but Lost Belt 6 is stupid popular. But yeah, I've just seen that so much, and I've seen people like directly try to discredit me, like as an individual, because I like Lost Belt 5, and they're like, look how out of touch she is, no one likes Lost Belt 5. It's only in this echo chamber people like Lost Belt 5. Meanwhile, it's in the top 10. It's like, yeah, it's not the absolute favorite, but it's perfectly well liked. Like, what the fuck? But yeah, I don't know why people are always trying to like nuke Lost Belt 5 and especially Olympus. I don't get it. And it's like, yeah, it's not the most popular, but it is still popular. I mean, beat Shimosa for crying out loud. And like, it's just, yeah, what makes me sad is Lost Belt 1's not on there. Yeah, Lost Belt 1 is not in the top 10. Lost Belt 2 is not in the top 10. Okay, that's deserved, to be honest. I don't think Lost Belt 3 was in the top 10. I don't think Lost Belt 4 was in the top 10. Honestly, the Lost Belts overall are doing pretty bad. 6.5 wasn't on there, I don't think. I think 5.5 was on there though, so that's kind of crazy, but I guess it is set in Japan, so it's gonna make it more popular. But I think the only Epic of Remnant, I think Shinjuku actually was in there, and Shimosa. I think that was it. But like Salem and Agartha weren't on there. Wait, was 6.5 on there? Am I crazy? I think I might be confusing 6.5 and 5.5 or something. But not a lot of 1.1 was on there though. I guess it was 1.0. It was like Solomon, Babylonia, and Camelot. That was it. Like I don't think there was anything other than those 3, which that's actually a pretty small percentage of 1.0, which shows how bad 1.0 is, I suppose. But 6.5 was on there. Where was it? I needed to look at the fucking list again. I knew 5.5 was on there, but I didn't think 6.5 was. But that might just be recency bias. That's always a thing. But it didn't beat Lost Belt 6 and apparently Atlantis, because apparently that was super high on there. But yeah, most of 1.0 was not on there, which I mean that's deserved for like Septum and Oceanus, London. Those are pretty bad. So yeah, I think 6.5 is probably on there because of recency. I imagine if they did that poll in like 2 more years, yeah, I don't think it'd be on there anymore. I mean, you never know. People can have whatever, taste. Wait, okay, yeah, we're on garbage account, so I need to, Cairo hasn't logged in as recently as my main, so I might have to remove myself and then re-add myself so I can make sure I'm getting Cairo all the time here. Actually, let's go with the Berserker. So I don't mind Atlantis. This is what I always say about it. Like, it has good characters, but it's like its overall story I think is very weak. But I think a lot of people, especially Fate fans, because it's what Fate's kind of always been, Fate is very character driven, and oftentimes the story is pretty shit. I mean, let's just be honest. I don't mean FGO, I just mean Fate in general. A lot of times the story is shit, and it's like a lot of excuses to just give the characters the spotlight. So I think Fate fans oftentimes are going to hype what just focuses on characters that they like, even if it's written good or bad, right? It's like they like to see the characters that they like on screen. That just is what it is. And I mean, that's fair enough. That's right. Far be it for me to tell people what to enjoy, right? So if they enjoy that, that's fine. But for me, I do like when the story makes more sense, or it's written better, or it's more logical, or connects to the overarching story. And Atlantis doesn't do that stuff very well. I actually thought Atlantis was kind of bad at that. But I still like it, even though it's like written in a way that it's like not my cup of tea. I still liked it, right? Because it does have, Jason's awesome. Achilles is awesome. It was cool seeing Orion and Ricky, right? It's cool, right? So I like Atlantis, but the gameplay was incredibly weak. I think a lot of people would agree with me on that. The gameplay was very weak. the overarching story was filler. I mean, straight up, it's filler. It was just an excuse to prevent you from going to Olympus where the actual story was. So, I wouldn't say I hate it, though. I don't hate it at all. I like it fine. But yeah, it just really... It was so obvious, because they've been hyping up Lost Belt 5 for a while, right? With Vadim and everything. And so I was looking forward to that. And then you get to Lost Belt 5, and it was just a giant excuse to not actually get to the real Lost Belt 5. And that just kind of turned me off a good bit, right? Even though I liked the characters and stuff, it's like, okay, it's just some made-up side thing. It's like, whatever. It's hard for me to get excited about that kind of stuff, right? And I'm clearly in the minority on this, but like, whenever they like hype up something, right? And then when you get there, it's like, oh, nope, not yet, right? That always makes me like, okay, right? And the FGO does that a lot, so. And like Odysseus, you didn't even get to fight though, right? Like I mean, you do, but he doesn't go into gameplay ever, so yeah, that was kind of lame. I think Olympus's cast is fine, but I don't think it's as good as Atlantis's, right? I mean, Jason is a hard thing to top, right? And you know, you had Chiron there as an antagonist, and that was pretty unique. You know, there was a lot of the cast in Atlantis was pretty good. Where Olympus's was like, like, okay, parts of Olympus's cast I think were great. I think Zeus is a great antagonist. He's just, now he needed more screen time. A lot of people have said that, and I agree. They didn't do the best job of like building him up enough. I mean, they build him up plenty. Just the name Zeus kind of carries a lot of weight, so there's that. But I thought he still made a really good antagonist for being Big Daddy, bad guy. The other gods hate him. You can see that. He's just so powerful and everything. Like, so I think that's a good addition to the cast. Very good antagonist with Zeus, although the screen time could have been better. And Romulus was awesome, but he's not in it very much. And it's like, it's kind of cool to like almost feel like you don't have enough. You don't have a chance against Zeus, and then Romulus comes to help you, so it's like a big relief. But like, it would have been nice if Romulus could have actually had a bit more, growth or just screen time, right? So that kind of sucks. And Mars is awesome. That's my favorite moment, like, ever. Obviously, Mars also doesn't get a lot of screen time, but at least he was there where it mattered. So there's some like cool characters there, but they don't get a lot of screen time. And the characters that do get a lot of screen time, Caligula's cool. I think a lot of people would agree with that. Caligula was cool. But that's, kind of it. There's Masashi, which is kind of divisive. I don't really mind Masashi, but, I don't really hype her either. I think a lot of the cool cast was, like, dead before you got there. I would have liked to have seen more Tesla, because his interaction with Zeus could have been awesome, but they don't do anything with it at all. Mordred and Gintoki, right? Like, they're not used, right? So I think Olympus could have been way better than it was, but I still think it's good, right? I still think it's a really cool setting. Now, you could say maybe the setting is wasted a bit, and I would actually agree with you, but the setting is so good that it's still enjoyable. Zeus is a good antagonist. I really enjoyed, Mars getting to do stuff. And a lot of people act like Chaos is just like random thing, but I don't think it was random at all. And if you actually know Greek mythology, that makes a fair bit of sense, I would say. However, him getting, cut out of the picture because of Masashi, that was kind of stupid. Like, don't get me wrong, there are things in Lost Belt 5-2 that I'm like, yeah, that was pretty dumb, but I like it anyway. I don't know what my favorite story in FGO would be, though. Because if I'm going to, like, give it a full package, it's going to be 5-2, but a huge part of that is because of the gameplay, right? Like, it has the best gameplay, I think, in FGO for story. But in terms of, like, just the writing and the characters and stuff, I don't know what my favorite would be. To be honest, this sounds really condescending, but I think this is how it is. I don't think anything in FGO is that good. I'm sorry. I don't think anything in FGO is that good. Yeah, Canis' death was pretty fucking contrived, but that's every fucking... Like, every FGO story has a degree of that. Now, it's probably worse in 5-2 than normal, and that's a fair criticism. But, yeah, the FGO does that kind of shit pretty often, I would say. Yeah, I don't think anything in FGO, as a standalone story, if you remove the gameplay and that kind of thing, I don't think any of it is that good. Right? Like, I don't think any of it is that good. It's not, awful necessarily. It has good moments. But, yeah, I don't think... FGO is not something I would ever hold up as, like... like some awesome storytelling. Like, look how good. I would never use it as an example of good storytelling. I really never would. Like, even though I like Fate a lot, so I'm like biased in its favor, I would just never use it as an example of good storytelling. So, like, and that goes for everything. 5, 3, Babylonia, Camelot, you name it. I just do not think it is that relevant. Like, it's, you know, it's kind of like cheap fun, like Warhammer 40,000 or something. I don't know why people keep asking me about summer. Oh, okay, no, this question is more reasonable. This is thoughts on summer events in total. Okay, because people keep asking me about Summer 7, and I'm like, what do you think I'm gonna say? It's like, we barely know anything. The few servants we know about, obviously I'm not gonna care about, so I'm like, I don't, like, what am I gonna talk about? But, yeah, summer in general, I mean, it's kind of whatever. It's like, it's fan servicey stuff. I'm not, like, super into fan service generally. I'll give them this though. Some of the toolkits that they make for summer events are fun, right? Because like summer makes them a lot of money. Chat, can you imagine an event aimed at fan service might make a game a lot of money? Can you even fathom such a thing? But anyway, yeah, some of the toolkits they put on summer servants are pretty interesting. But yeah, I mean, I don't care about summer events. Like, I care about them in that maybe they might get me, you know, Hawaiian shirt coup, which they never do, but, you know, maybe someday. And maybe they buff a unit that have, because, like, they might use a unit in summer and then they get buffed with the strengthening quest during it, right? That could be nice, because maybe they use a servant that needs to be buffed really bad, so I'm happy about those kinds of things. But, you know, I don't mean to like rain on anyone's parade. If other people like summer events, you know, have fun. I don't like crusade against them. I'm not like, oh my god, stop adding summer events to FGO. I don't care if they wanna throw a bunch of waifus in bikinis and whatnot. That doesn't really bother me, but it's not my cup of tea. But yeah, I'm not. It's fine that they exist. What? I'm just fighting like an assassin Spriggans over and over, and our team is not particularly good for dealing with that. But just don't kill Lancelot this turn, please. Work with my game. Quick chain, I suppose. But yeah, I'm in the minority. Summer events make them a crap load of money, and you know, there's that. What's your favorite Fate workout outside of FGO? Probably Fate 0. Like, I like Fate a lot, but it's not finished. And there are some. I don't have a lot of things I dislike about Fate 0. Now, there's some things I don't like about the anime adaptation, but like the actual like book Fate 0 overall, it's pretty good. I don't have much negative to say about it. For Fate, it has some huge positives, like, wow, this is awesome. But it also has some really stupid stuff from time to time, like, where it feels like fan fiction. So yeah, right now, I would say it's Fate 0. Now, things might change, you know, depending on how Fate Change Fate develops. You know, that could be one of my favorites, but we'll see. But yeah, right now, I would say it's Fate 0. And then after that, I guess Fate Change Fate after that, even though it's not finished, I'd probably put it second. Okay, man, the deck shuffling at some of these turns is really fucking me over. It's like making it impossible for me to do damage. I guess rainbow, so this becomes 100%. Imagine saying that, man. Imagine if someone told me that their favorite story was Babylonia, and I'm like, wow, your favorite story is Babylonia. Like, the fuck, man. And like that's such a shallow way to go about it, right? Like, if you want to share why you don't like Fate Zero and make a conversation, that's fine. But like, that's so meaningless. Like, I don't like Lost Belt 6, but I stand by this. I have never made fun of someone because you like Lost Belt 6. Not once. If you look at my entire Discord history, I have never made fun of someone because they like Lost Belt 6. Even though I really dislike it, I know a lot of people like it a lot, and good for them. I'm never gonna, it's just, like, that's childish, right? It's like, and I have people constantly make fun of me because I like Lost Belt 5. Like, there's always people, like, behind my back trying to, like, make fun of me because I like Lost Belt 5, right? And I do love Lost Belt 6. But I don't turn around and make fun of them because they like Lost Belt 6, right? That's just, also, we are getting destroyed by this Spriggan. We're about to lose this fucking stage. I actually think we need to just reset. I mean, I guess we need to spy what the last enemy is, but, you know, our team just could not get any damage, and people kept dying on, like, the worst turns possible, so the deck would shuffle, and I just could not get anywhere. So yeah, we're so dead here. Yeah, I wasn't expecting to be. I thought we were fighting trash mobs, which I mean, I guess you count brigands and trash mobs kind of like, but they're a step above, in my opinion. What I generally see, now I'm not trying to like accredit this to an individual because an individual, you know, they have all kinds of reasons of liking or disliking things. But what I generally see in my time on the internet and being part of the, I hate to say this, but the Fate community, most people that don't like Fate Zero, not everybody, there's many reasons to not like something, but what I normally see for the hate for Fate Zero is because there's such big Artoria fans, and the fact that Fate Zero does not show Artoria in a good light makes them not like Fate Zero, which is really weird to me, because Fate Zero is just kind of expanding on, like, what leads into Fate Stay Night, and it's all pretty logical, but people, like, get so mad at Fate Zero because it doesn't, like, suck Artoria's dick, which is really funny because, Fate Stay Night, the visual novel, now not the animes generally go out of their way to make Artoria seem like the bee's knees, but the visual novel Fate Stay Night shits on Artoria a lot, right? Like it really is not trying to make her seem like the most awesome thing that ever existed. It's actually quite the opposite. But yeah, the anime was like, oh shit, this character's popular. We need to just be like, oh god, look how awesome she is all the time. Okay, I need to like, I don't know why. Now, I guess Kyra hasn't been on in 2 hours. I mean, he was just streaming, but I guess you don't log in while you play, because that's how this game works, but... I will say, actually, one issue with Fate Stay Night, it's not so much Fate Stay Night shitting on, like, her backstory and stuff, because that's deserved. It is kind of silly, though, like, how much she gets her ass kicked in Fate Stay Night. And it's not even that the people that beat, like, Wrecker couldn't beat her. Like, you know, Kojo is very skilled and things like that, although he technically loses, but, you know, like, the whole fight in the visual novel is basically her being in shock that he's so much more skilled than she is. But anyway, it's almost like... The fact that she somehow lives constantly is what annoys me. It's like, the story wants to, like, use her as a punching bag to show off how, like, oh, look how crazy, like, this Kozuki guy is, because he can beat up Saber, right? But she always lives. So she gets an L constantly, but then there's no consequences to any of it, right? And it makes it very shallow and kind of dumb, where what they could have done was like spread out the fight scenes better, you know, have Kozuki fight someone that's not Artoria, right? But like Fates and I just had to have everyone fight Artoria constantly. I mean, I can believe that they buffed Fergus over Gilius, but Gilius needed it way more. But I had said it a few days ago, I could envision that the DW, well, that's not DW anymore, Lasagna might think that Fergus and Gilius are kind of equally bad, which is, I think, completely wrong, but I've just kind of noticed from like the way they do things that they might see it that way. There's definitely a perception that Fergus just doesn't ever get his NP, he just sits around and no one uses him. That's, I think, how a lot of people see it. When you actually sit down and look at what Fergus can do, it's actually pretty decent. But yeah, I'm not like super mad because Fergus's buff makes sense still, and you know, it's cool. It was a cool buff because it focused on what he's good at instead of like just giving him general everything. You know, he still is bad at getting his NP and stuff like that, but he's even better at face guard stuff. Okay, let's try to make a slightly better team for dealing with these brigands. Now, the last one, the first two are both assassins, I think, so the last one must be our rider. I think. I hope it's not rider, assassin, rider, or something like that, then I'm like debating myself, but if the last one's a rider, we want like Shinkai in the back. And then we want to do the best we can against the assassins. Not really our best option, I guess. We can do, and then another berserker in case an assassin is still alive and it's like okay against the rider. Yeah, this is fine. They lost. Go 2030. It's so good these days. Okay, he's not gonna NP, and even if he could, it wouldn't do a lot, so we'll just see red press red there. And then she can do that. Alright, this should be significantly better than what we did before. Still gonna bring Anniversary Blonde because I want that XP. Oh, we're ranked 9 or 8 now. Oh man, though, it's so slow getting that up. It's crazy. Once it's done, though, we're like set. Honestly, Fergus is like, he's not really a mini Gwaine. In a lot of ways, he's better than Gwaine, and he kind of always has been. Because now, if Gwaine's 80 and Fergus is 70, Gwaine I might say is maybe a little bit better just because of his higher stats, but he's pretty circumstantial. But even at 70 and 80, Fergus has way better survivability than Gwaine. Like, it's not by a little bit, but like a lot. Like a lot. And then if you like grail them both to 90 or both to 100 or whatever, then I think it starts to favor Fergus dramatically. And that's actually, that's before Fergus got buffed. And now that Fergus is buffed, I'd actually say he's quite a bit better. And this is coming from a pretty big Gwaine fan. You know, I've got Gwaine at level 100, 2k foe. I've got his 3 buster cards, you know, foe itemed and all that. And you know, Gwaine's fine, but like Fergus, I'd say is a lot better actually. Just having that much hard survival, like the difference in their damage is more than made up for by the difference in their survivability. I'll put it that way. And now Fergus has even more damage. So I actually think Fergus is actually really far ahead of Gwaine. The only thing Gwaine is better at is he's a little bit more self-sufficient because he has a star bomb, and he is a lot more capable of getting his NP because he has a battery and his gain rate. Gwaine's gain rate is surprisingly good on like his art card and stuff. I mean Fergus's is fine too actually when I think about it, but he's got the battery, so like Gwaine gets his NP smoother, and he's more self-sufficient because of the star bomb. But other than that, there's a lot in Fergus's corner, I would say. Like, I think Fergus is definitely one of those really underappreciated units even for his buff. Like, yeah, he's not the best unit ever, and for general use, Bedivere is probably going to be better, stuff like that. But, like, holy crap, man. Fergus is... I mean, he fucking sold the Maze of It challenge quest. Now, sure, there's a bunch of other challenge quests he has, like, absolutely no chance of soloing, but still, like, that's pretty wild. It just shows how much, you know, damage and... survivability he is capable of in my context. So, like, yeah, that doesn't mean, oh, Fergus is the best unit ever, but, you know, that is pretty damn impressive. Alright, let's see here. Bonk, bonk, bonk. Well, it depends. Like, he actually is going to do more damage than Gwaine, depending on the context. So... like, in terms of just like throw him out, boom, do damage, it's generally going to be Gwaine, especially because Gwaine has the Star Bomb. But like, Fergus has attack up, he has buster up, he has crit up, and he has defense down. So once he gets all of that rolling, he actually, I'm pretty sure, can have peak damage that's higher than Gwaine's. It's not going to be as consistent, and it's not going to necessarily last as long. But he has more buffs than Gwaine does in terms of like for normal card damage. But Gwaine's is a lot more consistent, right? Gwaine can just instantly get the buffs out, doesn't have to rely on getting the defense down from his NP, any of that kind of stuff, and he can just go. And Gwaine has the higher stats. But obviously, if you grail them both, Fergus is going to disproportionately catch up, right? Because he has 10 more levels to get from the grails, right? Like when they're both, let's say they're both 120, Gwaine is going to be higher statted than Fergus if they're both 120, or both at 100, right? But the gap gets smaller, right? Like the gap shrinks. So Fergus is very comparable on damage, and in the right context, he might actually be able to get slightly higher peak. But like if you average out their damage, it's absolutely going to be Gwaine, right? Like no question. But it's still pretty close. It's still pretty close. It's not going to be like that big of a blowout. And then because the thing is, the survivability is a blowout in Fergus's favor. That's the thing. Like Fergus has, you know, he's still got solid damage, but his survivability just completely eclipses Gwaine's. And again, I'm a huge Gwaine fan. I use him all the time. But like, Gwaine is, you know, okay, but he's not amazing. He really isn't. Like he has no fucking survivability, and his damage is good, but it's not like that good, right? Because there are some units that don't have survivability or very, very poor survivability, but their damage is just so nuts that they can still accomplish really, really great things. And Gwen is like almost that like that, but not quite, right? He's still, his damage is not that good, right? I think it's sometimes exaggerated, like, it's good, right? Good damage, and that's kind of that. Yeah, Fergus got buffed. They gave him a 3-turn Buster Up and a 3-turn Buster Crit Up. And the Buster Crit Up is 50%, and the Buster Up is 20%. So if you Buster Crit, it's a 70% damage increase, which is a lot. Like, that's pretty big. And he still has the attack up, obviously, from his first skill. And then you can get the defense down from his NP. Well, there goes, Salami. Alright, let's see. I guess we Rainbow here. Probably should have taunted with Mash, but... oh well. I mean, really, Gwenda, even though he's not like the most impressive figure that's ever existed, he's still serviceable though, so I don't think he really needs a buff. Right? Like, not everyone can be top tier. We don't need everyone to be top tier. And you just move the goalpost when you do that. So I'm happy where Gwen is at. I don't need every character to be super busted. But yeah, if he got buffed, I'm not gonna complain either. It's not like it's a big deal. But like, yeah, when a character is like, Gwen is totally serviceable. He does what he's supposed to do. He's fun to play. He's unique. So I just, you know, I'm just impressed. Anastasia's pretty shit for a 5-star. What's funny is she's actually so shit that we've basically not used her this entire time because we've normally been better off using something else. Now she will be useful as for farming because she can get her NP so quick, so she'll make farming a lot easier. But in terms of like if you're fighting like Assassin Lee, right? That's where you're really gonna need casters, right? Assassin Lee and Lost Belt 3. Do you really think Anastasia is a good unit to do that boss fight with? Like, not at all, right? Like, look at her competition, like Ilya, Plot Monk. Yeah, those are so much better than her, right? Like, she's pretty crap. And even fucking Babbage, I think, is better than her for, like, nuking a boss. Like, she's not as, like, the worst thing. But this is the thing that people are just misinterpreting about this, like, challenge. And it's really starting to bug me. Because I don't think me and Cairo really ever advertised it as such. But people think, like, the accounts are garbage, and I stand by that. I think me and Cairo have more and anyone that disagrees with me, do what me and Cairo are doing. Go get a friend, right? Get them to follow the same restrictions, because that's a big part of it. We cannot summon fucking Morgan to carry us. We can't summon Castoria. We have to summon, I have to summon Cairo, and Cairo has to summon me, and we have this exact same restriction, so we never get a free out. So do the same thing we're doing, right? And you tell me if these accounts are garbage, because you are gonna suffer like you have never fucking suffered, right? But anyway, people have this idea that like, in order for a unit to qualify, every single unit must be just like dog shit. That is not the criteria, and that would not even function, right? You couldn't play the game that way, right? Now, none of the units are super good. There is not a single, and if you disagree, tell me, but like there is, and I stand by this because I think I know this game incredibly well. There is not a single unit that is allowed that is top tier. Mash is not top tier. Mash is good, but Mash is not top tier. And the reason Mash is allowed, because she's still an exception, and the reason she's allowed, which we've explained like a billion times, is because the game forces you to use Mash. Many times. Like, every Lost Belt forces you to use Mash like 4 or 5 times. And like, Lost Belt 6 makes you do it like more than that. So how are we gonna ban Mash when the game forces you to bring her over and over and over? You literally have fights where you have like only Mash and like one other unit. So you have to level Mash, and we're not gonna sit here and level up Mash to max level and make her 10-10-10 for the like, you know, 20 fights to make you bring her. And even though Mash is probably the best unit on the account, that doesn't make her top tier. You have no idea what you're talking about if you think Mash is top tier. I'm sorry, that's just, you have no idea what you're talking about if you think Mash is top tier. Like, top tier is Castoria, right? It's shit like that. The difference between Castoria and Mash is so great, right? Just because something is vaguely like, hey, this is pretty good, that doesn't make you top tier, right? Like, that's nonsense. Like, if you're talking about 4 stars, right? or like 3 stars. So like for top tier 3 stars, you've got David, right? That David is so much better than like even just Robin now, right? Like even just Robin. You know, Robin's good, but he's not top tier. You know, Mash is fine. Mash is a good unit. But yeah, like there's no world for banning Mash because the game forces you to bring her. I can't even count how many times they forced you to bring her. Like, I mean, they make you bring her over and over and over again in the Lost Belts. Like, Lost Belt 6 especially, like, you have to use her constantly there. But even in like, Lost Belt 5, you have to use her a bunch of times. You have that fight where you have to use her and Xiom is being counterclassed, right? It's not possible to do this if we don't level Mash, right? And like, the game forces you to use her, so of course Mash is going to be allowed. And it's not like, oh wow, Mash is allowed, now the account's so strong. And I'm just tired of this. I'm tired of having to talk about this because everybody that has their stupid fucking opinion about this doesn't play this stuff. And I'm sorry, I am pulling rank because everyone that brings this shit up does no idea what they're talking about, and if you think these accounts aren't garbage, you ain't played it. There's no world you play these accounts and you're like, oh wow, this is so good. Like, it's fucking horseshit. Like, that is absolutely horseshit. And it's like you're either not playing it or you're breaking the rules. Like it's just you're like, I've seen people that are like semi-playing along, but you know they don't like add someone that's also doing it, and so then they're summoning supports to like carry the shit out of them. It's like that's not the same thing. No, but lots of people are denying these accounts are garbage. People keep like, oh, Zhufu's so good. Like, yeah, wow, she heals herself. I'm so enthralled. That'll save Salome from getting one shot from a boss, sure. But yeah, the goal of the accounts is not for every individual unit to be the worst thing ever. Now there's a lot of that, right? Like there is a lot of that. But like, for example, when the Salome's pretty good in comparison to everything else. That doesn't make Salome a good unit. It just doesn't. Have you noticed? She doesn't get used very often if you're not restricting yourself. You go look at all the because 1 to 3 stars, right, is a restriction, but it's a practical one, right? Because it's mimicable by anybody. That's why a lot of people make videos of 1 to 3 stars, because the team setup is mimicable by anybody. Now, she gets Salome or Salome, you know, she gets used some, right, from time to time by 1 to 3 star players, but it's very rare, right? She's very niche. She's very, you know, right? She's generally not going to make the cut, even when you're doing 1 to 3 stars, right? And that's a big concession there, right? Because if you do 1 to 5 stars where you're allowed to use anything, then she's never getting used ever. And I really stand, unless you just like her, obviously. But generally speaking, you are just not going to use her ever if you're allowing things from 1 to 5 stars, right? She's only used very sparingly by 1 to 3 stars specifically. But the thing is, because she's so like, yeah, she's okay, but she's not like, she's never like a great pick for most boss fights. She's not gonna be like your MVP, right? If you're fighting Lion King, no one is stuck on Lion King and they're on Discord like, guys, how do I beat Lion King? No one tells them to use Salome. No one does that, right? They're like, use Mordred, use Siegfried, use Morgan, use Hercules, use Ku-Ulter. That's what everybody fucking says, right? So even if you allow something like a support that's kind of good, like Zhufu, she is enabling a DPS that is incredibly suboptimal. So it's still shit, right? It's still like, what the fuck is Zhufu gonna do on this account? She's gonna make stars and she's gonna heal herself and she's gonna do no damage. How is this enabling the account to do fucking anything, right? Like, I'm not even planning on leveling my Zhufu. Like, you know, first off, it wasn't up to me to allow her, but like, even now that she's allowed, I'm not even leveling her because I'm like, this isn't worth it. She's not gonna do anything. Like, what the fuck do I need an alter ego that heals herself and doesn't do any damage for? Now, on a normal account, right, I could be enabling things like Robin Hood, right? And then I'm like, okay, now Zhufu's a bit better because if she's feeding the stars to Robin Hood, giving Robin the NP gain up and giving Robin the art up, this is pretty good, right? But I'm gonna be giving either Salome or Phantom of the Opera a 30% art up. Oh, wow. Oh, I'm saved, chat. We're gonna beat Mothman and Fluffy first try. We got 30% art up on Salome and Phantom. Oh, what such an easy account. So not garbage. What clickbait. Like, I'm just so tired of it. Everyone's like looked at the list like, oh, this thing in my opinion is good, so there's a blah, blah, blah. I'm like, shut the fuck up, dude. Like, I'm so tired of it. And the reason I'm tired of it is because nobody, I'm not saying I'm perfect. Me and Cairo are not the perfect FGO players that have the perfect opinion on everything. Of course not. But the people that actually, you know, have any idea what they're talking about are not the people that are ever, you know, criticize the unit selection, right? Anyone with a brain that hears, okay, play FGO, you can only summon your friend with these same restrictions, right? You're level capped based on your singularity, and here's the servants are allowed to use. No one is going to look at that and be like, oh yeah, that's going to be easy, right? Like, at least if they have any idea of what they're doing. The only people that are going to be like, oh, Jufu, or whatever, you know, they're just, or MASH, like, yeah, like MASH is going to carry you. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. Anyway, we're way off topic now. Let's see here. But yeah, ever since we added Jufu, everyone's just been bringing this up constantly, and I'm just like, shut the fuck up. And again, if it was up to me, Jufu would not be on the list. But honestly, Cairo is probably right, because she is on the list now, and neither of us are leveling her. So that's actually fairly telling that it doesn't really matter that she's allowed. And I'm sure she'll get used at some point, because at some point we're gonna be so, like, the only way we're gonna be able to kill something is if we, like, crit, right? A lot, and she is good for supplying crits, especially because we don't have Mozart, and we don't have Hans, right? Because Hans is banned because Hans, like, this is like the exact thing. Hans is way better than Jufu in most circumstances. Even though Jufu's pretty good, right? Jufu's solid, but Hans is way better. Like, Hans is so much better. But, yeah, he has to be banned, because we would literally use him every fucking stage ever. Where Jufu, I'm not even using him, so. But yeah, honestly, if it was up to me though, Jufu would not be on the list. That is mostly a Cairo thing. Summer Scath is pretty just forgettable. She's like, doesn't do anything of note. She has a very disjointed kit. Her peak value isn't even that high. I'm actually surprised she hasn't been buffed at this point. But, you know, maybe someday. Oh. Hans is definitely not the free-to-play Merlin. There is no free-to-play Merlin. There's no free-to-play Castoria. That is just conceptually so out of whack. And Hans, if anything, if you had to compare like that, it would be Waver. Because Hans is very easy to work into any team, right? You can kind of, I mean, I guess it's true for Merlin to an extent, but it's more so for Waver. Like, absolutely. You know, Merlin is still mostly for Buster, and then just straight survival, right? Merlin is for survival and Buster. Hans is just for everything, in terms of a budget context. Obviously, Hans is worse than Waver and Merlin, of course, but he can be on survival teams, he can be on burst teams, he can be on just generic crit teams, right? He's not like an art unit, quick unit, buster unit, any of that. He's not for NP spam or crit specifically. He can kind of just do whatever, right? So he can just be slapped on a team and he's going to be useful. Just like a Waver, you can put on any team, he's going to be useful. It's pretty much, they're more alike, I would say. Now, they don't have a lot of like one-to-one gameplay comparisons, but I mean, that doesn't really matter, right? That's not how you actually get, okay, I'm removing myself, this is just stupid. It's just because Cairo hasn't logged in so long. You know, we don't need it, so. Nuking myself, alright, there we go. And even I am not immune to the purge. I'm kind of extra ranty today, though. I've kind of just... I'm at my limit for bullshit today because, like, I woke up and I had another Kiyohime fan, you know, being a typical Kiyohime fan. I'm like, okay, great. And I just have, like, so many people today are just bringing up stupid bullshit. Like, they have, like, a bone to pick with me from, like, something I said a month ago, and they're trying to write, like, an essay of why I'm wrong, and I'm just like, what is wrong with you? Like, that has happened so much today, and I'm just like, what the fuck is wrong with the, like, the internet today, right? People are just, like, out of their minds, and I'm tired of it, right? I'm just so fucking tired of it. No, it's not Saruhime. I think, let's be honest, most people forget she exists because she like hasn't been rated up in forever. Although honestly, I imagine most like diehard Kiyohime fans probably like Summer Kiyohime more. Although I don't know, since regular Kiyohime got the animation update, maybe not. I don't know, but originally, you know, she had the better animations and better. She still has better gameplay, I would say. Although it's still a bit yikes, but there's just something in the water with Kiyohime fans. I've really noticed that over the years. Like, and I should word that better. I don't even think it's the majority of Kiyohime fans. It's just, they have a, you know, all fans of anything, a movie, a book, a character, you know, it's always going to have its degree of crazies, right? No matter what it is, right? The color green, right? It just doesn't matter. There's always going to be a degree of crazies that like anything. But I have noticed that, in my experience, there's a slightly larger percentage of crazy amongst the Kiyohime fans. And it's not the only thing I've noticed that for. There's plenty of things that I've noticed that for, but I've very much seen that. I guess it's the whole stalker thing. I don't know. All right. Let's see. I wonder if this is like Lancer Spriggans. I don't even know. Oh yeah, that's a huge part of it. That it's a vocal minority. But the thing is, like, there's going to be a vocal minority in anything, right? And I think it's a bigger vocal minority for Kiyohime than it is for other characters. Like I very much see it. Maybe not every character. I'm sure there's some other ones out there too. But I think it's undeniable that it definitely attracts a bit more of that. Again, I don't think it's the majority of Kiyohime fans. I do not think it's the majority. I think the majority of people that enjoy anything are going to be pretty casual about it and generally not even talk about it. Like really, most people play FGO don't really even talk about it. They don't go on Reddit, they don't go on Discord, they don't go to streams, they don't. No, that's just most people, right? So the majority of fans of almost anything are going to be pretty, you know, normal or fine, right? Alright, I guess we just start with MASH with 2030. That seems to be a pretty safe thing when you're going in blind, I find. Clean up with Berserkers because we're desperate, I guess? We'll do it like that. Yeah, that's fine. Alright, we'll do that again, and then we'll give him K-Scope. Very lucky that we got all these K-Scopes. And then he can do 2030. I tell you though, when you do roll story, it is actually pretty easy to get K-Scope in 2030. Like 5-star CEs actually aren't that rare. If you actually count the amount of 5-star CEs you've gotten on your account, it's probably way higher than you think. It's probably just crazy fucking high. It's just most people roll in banners that have rate ups and the 5-star craft essences are worthless trash. Like that's just the sad truth. Most 5-star craft essences that are limited. Oh. Well, yeah, this is the one where I think you get like a chain if you win, but yeah, we're not gonna do that. But anyway, yeah, most 5-star CEs that you obtain through banners, that, you know, again, they're limited, right? They're like rarer, they're limited. Most of them are just useless. They're just completely useless. Now, of course, there's some exceptions, right? There's like that one, I think with, what is it? Like Nidochrist, and I think Cleopatra, right? That one's really good. You've got Yang CE, of course. You've got Poster Girl, right? There's some here and there. They're like, wow, that's really good. But most of them are just totally crap, right? You're literally just it's a picture, right? It means nothing gameplay wise. You know, if Golden Simo went on rate up, I'm sure some people would roll for it. Even like First Sunrise is not really that good. I mean, it's fine, right? It's significantly more usable than a lot of the other 5-star CEs out there. But most of like the welfare CEs, right? Just like aerial drive and all that kind of stuff are better. So, like, it's nothing special. Like, because here's the thing, there are a few that are like comparable. That's fair to say, you know, that Sunrise is like comparable to, you know, some of the welfare ones. But just being comparable doesn't make it much of a selling point because, you know, you play the game for a year, you get a pretty large selection of craft essences from like freebies, so you're not going to need it. Where stuff like Yang CE, Poster Girl, right, those kinds of CEs don't have an alternative, right? It's that thing or bust. So they're a lot more valuable, I would say. And the thing about Outrage though isn't you could get it on a banner, but you can just get it from the shop. So, and also if you're saying Outrage is comparable to Poster Girl, you're completely wrong. And please don't make me get into this fucking conversation again. And that's another one. I have to bring this up. That's another. Every time I bring up how broken Poster Girl is, it's so common someone brings up Outrage. And if you do that, I'm not trying to be a dick, but this is what I think. I can't change my brain. You clearly have not, done like hard content where you're comparing Poster Girl to Outrage. There is no world where a 1-turn taunt can functionally replace what a 3-turn taunt does, right? Because it literally doesn't work, right? It fundamentally doesn't work. Because the thing about Poster Girl is not only is it protecting you for that turn, if the unit happens to live, it's still protecting you. And if the boss has even remotely good damage, by the time that unit dies, right, it's going to die within those 3 turns, and that's important because that means the new unit comes in right as the taunt wears off. That's really important because that new unit can be either have taunt itself, or it can be like Merlin, so then it gives you invulnerability. So whatever you're protecting is guaranteed not to die, right? Outrage does not provide you that at all, right? Like all Outrage does is it can be kind of useful. Certainly Outrage can be good, right? But like 1 turn, what's very common is, oh, the boss double buffed and it didn't even kill my taunt, and now I can't cycle the unit, and now my DPS is exposed, and the unit that I wanted to die is still here, right? That is so common to happen with Outrage. One turn is good. You can still make use of Outrage, right? It's a perfectly good craft essence. You can like use Switch Mystic Code and bring it in as the boss NPs, and then use the taunt to block. It's totally good, right? But it fundamentally is not like Poster Girl, not even close. And not only is 3-turn taunt just so much better than a 1-turn taunt, but it also gives you the giant attack up, which a lot of times doesn't matter, but sometimes it does, right? Like you can do a VC Brawn. A VC Brawn is such a good example actually, because a VC Brawn can turn 1 NP on his own, so he doesn't need starting NP. So you got a VC Brawn, he's protecting the team, he NPs immediately, he gets the big attack up, and then if the boss happens to not kill him, it's okay, the taunt's still there, kill him next turn, and if it somehow doesn't kill him, it'll definitely get him the turn after that. And then you get his 3rd skill to activate for his teammates, right? You try to do that with Outrage, not only are you doing way less damage, he might not even die, and then if he does die, he might be like to the NP, and it might be AoE, and the other 2 units die, now they don't get his 3rd skill, right? It just falls apart, right? Shit just falls apart. But yeah, everyone always brings up fucking Outrage, dude, when you talk about Poster Girls. Like, 1-turn taunt, that'll do it. But when you like go out there and you actually try to mimic like a hardcore Poster Girl team, and you try to use Outrage, most of the time it won't work. Sometimes it might, but like generally speaking, it's not gonna pan out. Alright, you know what, let's do bang, bang, bang here. That being said, I just shat all over Outrage, but for real, if you have an account and you have like an access, I think it's only 1 rare prism, it's either 1 or 3. But you should pretty much always get Outrage. If you have Poster Girl, maybe not then, but most people don't have Poster Girl, so pretty much everyone should use their rare prisms at some point to buy Outrage. Because it's I can't remember what it costs, but it's like 1 to 3 rare prisms to get it. And it's really good. It's 3, okay, it's worth 3. It is absolutely worth 3. Like no question, it's so worth that. Dude, his gameplay is so broken. Especially in a team setting. It's like you NP, and then you only have 1 more turn of the buff, and then this happens. Right? Like if this fucking happens. I have a quick card. Like, oh yeah, that'll do good. Like, it's super annoying. I really wish they would have buffed him. Maybe later though. Yeah, we get so little out of our NPs because of that. Yeah, for those that don't know, Outrage, it's like, it's like Billy the Kid, Coup, Alter, without all of his like crazy, pimp dinosaur nonsense. Is it? I think Rama. I think Rama's the other one. But yeah, you can. It's from a White Day event. So there's a thing in the Rare Prism shop. Because basically a long time ago, for White Day, for a certain year, they gave out a ticket, and it let you pick one of like 6 craft essences, and most of them are shit. Like they're not even shit. They're just you can replace them so easily. But one of them is Outrage, which is a 1-turn taunt, which is good enough. And so yeah, you should pretty much always pick Outrage. It's not a good idea to pick it. I stand by this. Every other thing you can pick is not worth it. But anyway, you can spend 3 rare prisms and you can get that ticket from years ago and you can pick one of the craft essences again. And you should always pick Outrage because all the other craft essences you can pick are so easily replaceable by other craft essences. Because like, the only thing that can really replace Outrage and will replace the shit out of it is Poster Girl, but you're probably not going to get that, so, and if you do, then maybe you don't pick Outrage, but at that point you don't really need to spend the rare prisms at all, because none of the other ones matter. Yeah, you gotta look for, what's it called, Chaldia Boys, right? Like, I could probably show it actually, although I've already bought it on this account. Yeah, it's like Chaldia Boys collection or whatever. And yeah, one of the honestly, I bet you a lot of players don't know about it. It's a huge help. It's Outrage is good, right? Yeah, maybe no Poster Girl, but there's still a lot of uses to at least having a taunt, right? But yeah, I really recommend getting it. I go out of my way not to use it in my videos very much, but this is stupid. I'm actually I'm being kind of an egotistical shit by doing this. So I don't generally put Outrage in my videos. I think I've used it occasionally, but I almost never use it. And the reason I do that is because I am so sick of Poster Girl people being like, well, if he's gonna use Outrage, you know, it's the same thing as using Poster Girl, right? I just don't want to deal with that. But I'm actually doing my viewership a disservice because there are several like challenge quests, boss fights and stuff that if I used Outrage, which is fairly easily, you know, mimicable, where Poster Girl is not. But so I really could use it to like give people better strategies and whatnot. And I'll just bring awareness to that you can get it, right? Like I just don't. And I just do that because I don't want people being like, oh, well, that's basically Poster Girl, right? So I'm just being an egotistical prick. But yeah, I just don't want to deal with it. But yeah, I really should use Outrage in my videos more because it is easily attainable and it's. But there are going to be people that either don't want to spend the rare prisms, and that's actually pretty rare these days because we give out rare prisms pretty often now. But what's actually going to happen is you're going to have people that already bought it and they picked a different craft essence, and then they're just like locked out of having any kind of taunt CE. So it's kind of better to just not have taunt CEs in my videos, I find. But it does kind of suck because there's a lot of synergies with like a VC Brawn and just the Switch Mystic Code and stuff like that with taunt CEs that can make very fun and, you know, cool teams that are kind of just neat and, you know, good. But yeah, I find it's best to just not use them. But if they ever add a taunt CE to like FP summon or just you can get through mana prisms or whatever, if they ever make it like really accessible, I'll probably start using at least Outrage. I would always say if you want to get a taunt CE and you want to use SQ for it, you should go for Poster Girl, right? Outrage, you should just get it through the rare prism shop, and because if you're gonna put SQ into it, you're gonna want to get more boom for your buck. And Poster Girl is so much more boom for your buck. I mean, you basically can make any unit St. George and also a buffer at the same time. That is so powerful. Like, it's just outrageously powerful. The thing is, taunt CEs are like so busted. They don't really add them because they're aware of, like, on the developer side how busted taunt CEs are. And I mean, I'm sure they'll add them occasionally because they like money, but yeah, they're pretty stingy with adding them in my experience. And a lot of the ones they've added are also won't work like Poster Girl will. Like a lot of them like can't, because like there was one they gave out that 1-turn taunt and 1-turn invulnerability. Now that's useful absolutely, but for completely different reasons than Poster Girl is useful, right? They're not interchangeable. Chad, I just had a stupid moment where I thought, oh man, this is gonna be so easy because I can use Q against archers and he's still really good against assassins. And then I remembered I'm on the garbage account and I can't do that. So, yeah, whoops. Is it more recommended for newer accounts to spend their rare prisms to get NP upgrades like BB, for example? No. I honestly, if If I was gonna make like a tier list on what you should use your rare prisms on, BB is one of the lowest things. I'm serious. Now, if you're a BB fan and you think you're gonna enjoy the game more with like, you know, using BB a lot, then by all means get BB, right? That's a huge part of the fun of the game, is using your favorite units to beat content with, right? So if you like BB, do not feel bad about getting BB, right? But I would rate getting like, what are the options? It's BB, MP ranks, and at Attila, right? Attila Archer ranks. That's unbelievably low. BB is just not that good. I'm sorry, she's just not that good. You almost never need her. She's okay, right? She's not bad, but she's not good really either. She's kind of just there, right? If you need to like beat hard bosses, you have, you know, you got Madge, Hans, David, Asclepius is somewhat obtainable, right? Those are better options, generally speaking, for like 90% of the content. So BB is very low on the priority. No offense to Dragon Lord, but Archer Attila is not needed in the slightest. Right, you've got David, Arash, Robin. There's no, you don't need her ever. I mean, literally ever. I've never seen content where it's like, oh man, if only I had Archer Attila. Which, I mean, I have her, but, you know, I don't really use her. But, yeah, there's just no, you only should get those things if you like them. You're like, oh, I want to use Attila all the time. But of course, get Attila with your rare prism. But don't be like, oh man, I want to make sure my account is successful and I can do, you know, beat content and get through the game. That's not the thing to prioritize then. I always say, this is the first thing I think I've gotten on basically every account I've ever made. And I've made a lot of them. I've played through the game many times, done challenge quests many times. The first thing I always get is Anniversary Blonde. The only time I would not get Anniversary Blonde, and this could be a thing, so pay attention, you know, this might be applicable to you. If you're like always gonna summon your friend's Castoria, right? Or maybe you have your own Castoria, like you started when she was rated up or something, right? So if you're gonna do like Castoria stuff all the time, and you're wanting to use like Art DPS all the time, right? And I mean like just so often, you're just not planning on using Buster stuff. Then like Anniversary Blonde is still good, because sometimes you really want guts, right? Like you really want to be able to have a Mystic Code guts, but still, I would say Anniversary Blonde's priority goes down pretty hard if you're just like, I don't give a shit about Buster and I'm gonna do like Castoria stuff all the time. Then it's still good, but it goes way down, right? Where for anybody that's, you know, just gonna be more general with what they're using, and then extra if you're gonna be doing Buster stuff, you definitely want to get Anniversary Blonde. There's a lot of fights that the targetable guts is super good. It's a great option for your crit servants because of the 20 stars. It's very, very good. So yeah, Anniversary Blonde is pretty much the first thing I would recommend. And then after that, it really kind of just depends on like what you're doing, how your account unfolds, you know, what servants you unlock. But in like, for me generally, with like my criteria, keeping it more free to play, that kind of thing, it's actually these days it's in the anti-divinity CE. It's good. Now, it's not like the best CE ever, but you fight divinity pretty often, right? And Fluffy's divine, Zeus is divine, Demeter's divine, plenty of challenge quests against divine, right? It gives you starting NP, big damage boost. It's very, very good. It's expensive. That's the one downside, is it's a lot of rare prisms. But it is good. So it's a fairly high priority for me, I find. But if you're on a budget, you might skip that one, right? Just because you could generally get by without it. Might be a bit harder, but you can get by without it. And if you're like wanting to be careful with your rare prisms, you might want to, you know, focus on something else, like even Outrage, right? But yeah, I find the anti-divinity one is really good. But yeah, Anniversary Blonde is always my top pick. And I can't remember, chat, is the command code, is it mana prisms or rare prisms? The command code that is charm immune, stun immune, you know, petrify immune, all that kind of stuff. I want to say it's rare prism. Because if it is rare prism, it's rare prism. Okay, yeah, that's pretty high priority too. Because that one, there's a lot of boss fights where the boss like charms every turn or sleeps every turn or whatever, and that is a really big help. So yeah, don't sleep on that one at all. You definitely want that one. It's like Tam's Mirror, I think that's the name of it. Some nonsense like that. Yeah, definitely don't sleep on that one. It is very, very, very good. Probably should have Brave Change with Salami. Yeah, I know 4 stars go on Rare Prism, I just don't remember the rarity of command codes because it's irrelevant. I mean, for God's sake, some of the best command codes end up being 3 stars for some reason. And there's a bunch of 5-star command codes that are completely useless, so... Like, the rarity just means nothing. And also, the rarity has nothing to do with how you obtain them, right? When you do the event, you get all 3 of them pretty much equally, and terms of like how hard it is to get them. You finish the event, you get all 3. You know, it just, the rarities don't mean a damn thing. But I guess main interludes aren't like rare prisms anymore. So those aren't. Cause some of the main interludes are still useful in terms of like their loot and stuff, but it's not really an issue anymore. All right, I want to keep her alive because I think the last enemy is not an archer. All right, come on, attack up. No, okay. I dreamed. Let's see how much damage he does. If he had happened to have landed his attack buff, this would have been a bit more impressive. Yeah, and yeah, 5 stars, you can't get them again, which does suck. They might change that eventually. I really do think, though, they're going to do a Christmas, like, collage event at some point. Maybe this year. Now, you know, maybe next year or whatever, but, like, I think it's going to happen. And, a lot of the old 5-star command codes, I think, will come back when they do that. I wish I had a Buster card here. Trying really hard to kill this thing and not use Salami's NP. Keep her alive, but we're running out of time here. I'd rather NP with her than have her die for free. She's got the buff, so I'll risk. You know what? I'll do the Star Bomb too. That's really good crit chances. Whew. That was close. Yeah, Christmas recap, get all the welfares again, stuff like that. That'd be pretty cool. I think it'll happen. I really think it'll happen. Okay, 100% crit, I'll take that. Or do I want a Brave Chain? Full Rainbow. It's still pretty good. So they just said in this interview with Famatsu, whatever it's called, that they actually don't want to do a lot of reruns. They said that the staff, basically they said they've been hiring more staff since they switched over to lasagna, which I've been saying that, I've been telling you all that forever, that they've been trying to hire more staff, but they confirmed that, so they're getting more staff. And he said a lot of their, like, new blood doesn't want to do reruns. They want to, like, make new stuff. They want to get in there and do shit. And I'm sure the writers feel the same way. I mean, there's no way, like, the writers don't care about reruns, obviously. So, yeah, he said they want to do less reruns, more new stuff. Now, that's actually fine in my opinion. However, it really sucks for people that like, oh, fuck, I missed that event though, and I want that thing. So what I think they should just do is do a better job at the main interludes, right? Just do more main interludes. And here's the thing, don't make a big deal about main interludes. That's the problem. This is actually a problem with FGO. They feel like every time they do something, it has to be like content for like a week. No, you don't need to make buffing servants a big thing that you put like a focus on. Just buff them. Like literally after the anniversary, if you just randomly buff a bunch of units, that's fine. Like literally it's fine, right? So not everything needs to be a big deal, right? And if that means that there's like a dead week where you're not doing anything with like a big focus, that's fine too. There's going to be dead weeks. I think people accept that. And as long as you have like fun replayable content, I don't think people mind dead weeks so much, right? So like, just add main interludes often. But don't put a big focus on it, and don't be like, oh, you got to do this right now, because that's what they always do. They bring out a main interlude, and that is the event for like a week. So all you have to do is the main interlude. So people do the main interlude, right? But like, it's okay to like, for example, let's say you bring out Summer 7, right? That's what we're on, right? Summer 7, I think. But so you bring out Summer 7. If while you bring it out, you bring out a main interlude for Summer 1, that's fine. And probably, but don't like pressure people into doing it. Don't time limit it. Don't be like, oh, you know, oh, it's free during the week. No, just, it's free forever. It's just there forever. And when you want to get to it, you can just get to it later. Like, you're not going to play it now, most likely, because it's Summer 7. But hey, it's here. So if you ever have a dead week, you can come here and do Summer 1 again if you want to. It's there, right? No big deal, right? And that's what Arc Knights does. Exactly. It's way better, right? So yeah, bring out Summer 7. Main interlude Summer 1, maybe main interlude Summer 2 at the same time. Just put them both there. Just boom, they're just there, right? Don't highlight it. Don't pressure people into doing it. Don't time limit it. Don't do anything like that. Don't put it behind rare prisms. Don't make them even go to the shop. Just put it in the UI. right? There you go, right? And they need to do that with a lot of events, right? I think they need to be consistently adding main interludes. I think basically every time they add a new event, they need to also add a main interlude, and it needs to be free. It needs to be there forever, and just that's that. And that will make the game, I think, way better, right? Like do that, add story replay, add a good like side game mode, like a roguelike or a boss rush mode. FGO's so much. Oh, then fix the UI, and then now FGO. That's not a lot. What I just said, that's not an unreasonable ask for a game. A lot of these mobile games do that stuff all the time. It's just the other mobile games generally have shit gameplay, so it doesn't matter that they have a boss rush mode or whatever. You know, FGO actually has a decent combat system. You know, like Arknights, you know, they do too, right? So yeah, a few basic things will make this game so much better. Like, I mean, so much better. Main interludes, better UI, story replay, you know, good side game modes that, you know, are not complete shit and are designed for replayability. That's the key. When you make a side game mode, it should be designed for replayability and fun when you don't have something else to do, right? Don't pressure people into doing it like, oh my god, I have to do the challenge tower before the time limit is up. No, you don't do that. You put a challenge tower there and it's just there. It's not going anywhere. The loot's not going anywhere. It's just hanging out, right? And if you're like, hey, man, I love this new character I just got. There's nothing to really do. I've already finished the event. Hey, I'll go use this new character I just got in the challenge tower, right? That's what you want it to be, right? That's way healthier for the game, right? And that's definitely what FGO needs, in my opinion. Yeah, Guildfest challenge quest being permanent, Nerofest challenge quest being permanent, stuff like that. That would be nice. And there's a lot of ways to do it. I mean, a challenge you could incorporate those as floors in a challenge tower, right? You can do new stuff and old stuff, right? I think that's a really good way of doing it, actually. Smash you. So I will say this though, some Guildfest challenge quests don't have a lot of replayability in my opinion, because some of them were just like a giant gimmick, and once you deal with the gimmick, that's that. Now that's not true for all of them. Some of the Guildfest ones do have good replay value. There's different teams that can approach it in different ways, and some of them also have like turn-to-turn decisions that are tough, like the Romulus challenge quest, right? That's actually, I think, a big part of why the Romulus challenge quest is so fun, is because even if you know the fight, and even if like you totally know how to beat it and you got the right units to beat it, you still gotta like, okay, wait a minute, let me think about this. You know, when's the buff gonna wear off? Do I want to reapply? Do I not want to reapply it? Like you're participating, right? And it's still fun and it's thematic and there's like, you know, it's got like a whole flow to it, but it's still flexible enough that you're not like, oh my god, I have to bring Merlin, I have to bring Artoria. No, you don't have to do any of that, right? You can, you know, it's pretty diverse in what you can actually bring and beat it. So yeah, it's good. I think it's excellent. It's a really good challenge quest. But yeah, there are some fights in FGO though that have terrible replay value. Like there are some that it's, and that's unfortunately how most advanced quests are. I think most of the advanced quests have like no replay value, which is obnoxious because they're the only replayable content we have in the game. Like, do you guys see the problem with that? Like, why like FGO like pisses me off sometimes? It's like I've been asking for replayable content for 7 years, and the first bit of replayable content we get is not very good, and it's some of the least replayable content, right? It's like, what the fuck? Like literally, what the fuck, right? I've been asking for this shit forever, and that's what you give us? Where you could have like made so much other stuff replayable that would have been way better. By the way, chat, they're going to do a Road to Lost Belt 7 for Lost Belt 6, and they even mentioned Fluffy. So that's happening. So we're getting a harder Fluffy. So yeah, have fun with that. I really do think though that it's not going to be that much harder. Like, I think Fluffy's changes are going to be so much more mild than like the changes to some of the other ones. I really think that. I don't think they're going to buff him very much. They will buff him. I'm sure they will buff him, but I do think it'll be a more minor thing because, I mean, he's so busted as is. He doesn't need much of a buff. I can guarantee you these accounts are not beating the harder version. And also, this is another thing. The Road to Lost Belt 7 sucks. All the fights are not replayable. Like, they're not very good fights, but they're not even replayable. So it's like you miss out on them. Like, I want like, man, make Anniversary Gwaine replayable. That'd be awesome. I will say, I think the Anniversary for Lost Belt 3 was a bit better, or not Anniversary, but Road to Lost Belt 7 for Lost Belt 3. That was better. They did a better job with that one than they did the prior ones. But, because they said that in the interview that they thought that they kind of... Although I don't know, I've seen two translations of the interview. One basically says that the Road to Lost Belt 7 stages are really hard and they wanted hardly anyone to be able to beat them. And then the other interview is like, hardly anyone beat them and we actually want to change that. Like the two translations. So I'm not actually sure, but yeah. They acknowledge that not a lot of people beat the super hard stages. But yeah, how they feel about it, I'm not sure, because the two translations translated it differently, so we'll just have to see. I wouldn't mind. Okay, so my main issue with the Road to Lost Belt 7 stages is not even their difficulty, it's the kind of difficulty that they are. They're really boring, because it's just a huge stat check, and then like, correct me if I'm wrong, because I've done them with low stars, and I know other people have done them with low stars too. And the only ways I see like really free-to-play friendly teams beating the, not all, but the majority of the super recollection quests, right? The only way I see Budget doing it is in incredibly boring ways, right? Like I beat most of them with this exact team. Now some of them I changed like a unit around a little bit, but I beat most of them, even like Anastasia, I beat it with Mash, David, Hans. That is stupid. Because I wasn't even fighting a Saber, and it took like 60 turns. That is fucking dumb, right? And it's not fun, it's really boring, it's really repetitive, it's really frustrating, it doesn't make me want to do it, right? That's just really bad gameplay, right? Where there's other challenge quests that they've done that are also really, really, really hard, and but you can do them with budget, and you don't do it like that. You're not, like even the Knights of the Round Table, the Shadow Knights of the Round Table weren't that bad. I mean, they were kind of bad, but they weren't that bad, right? Yeah, Super Zeus could be good. I could see them twinking that just to be a bit more health, and that could actually work out for that fight, I would say. I think it might take it too far. I mean, Zeus with 3 million HP is going to be, you know, utter bullshit for a lot of teams, too. Alright, we'll go Berserker, and then maybe Jason as cleanup, or even in the middle. Be like that. No, let's go Assassin. Jinpei, alright. I don't blame anybody, even like budget players. I don't blame anybody for being like, fuck it, I'm bringing a 5-star for those stages. That's why I did it for Mothman, because like I'm just not gonna stall that shit. It just gets, it's beyond my patience, right? So, like, I will say this, I kind of want to go, I'm not gonna go like ham on Zeus. Like I don't want to bring like, you know, Waver and Scatty. I'm not gonna do that, but I kind of want to go a little ham if they do Super Zeus, just because I like Zeus a lot, and there are some high rarity servants I really like that I'd like to use, so I kind of want to like maybe go a little bit more ham than normal, but I don't know. It's also fun to like accomplish doing it with pure low stars, so I don't know. We'll see. I'd be tempted to use Tesla, even though Tesla's not particularly good in that fight, but very thematic doing that. Well, okay, there are some times where just adding stats to the enemy is okay. Now, not as a general rule though, right? You know, the exceptions prove the rule, so the rule is don't do it. But there are times where adding stats to the enemies work. So Mothman, I think Mothman was fine just adding stats to him, because his stats were too low. But he is a pretty hard fight with his gimmicks, so that's all he needed, right? And it equaled out to a pretty reasonable amount of health he had to deal with. And it was, for the most part, I think it was okay. Maybe they took the stats a little too far for free-to-play by just a little bit, but overall, that's okay, right? And Tiamat, actually, I think Tiamat is one that really just needs a number twink. Tiamat just needs more health and maybe a higher attack stat. That's it. You don't need to do anything else to the Tiamat fight, right? And because like there are just times where they made a boss fight and they just understated it, right? They came up with a clever little gimmick or whatever, but they just didn't stat the boss well enough, and then you bulldozed them and you forgot about it, right? So adding stats can work, but most bosses, that's not the problem. Most of the bosses in FGO, they don't need extra stats. That's silly. Yeah, Lion King, I agree. Lion King could just use extra stats. Maybe a health bar, right? Like, so you can't just, you know, one-turner, right? So yeah, maybe add a health bar or two and total higher stats. That would make her much better. But for the most part, though, those are exceptions. The rule really is don't just slap stats on them. If anything, keep the stats the same, but, you know, add a gimmick or something like that. I think that's a better way of doing it. And especially for low stars, because low stars, you know, have a harder time meeting stat checks, right? So just adding a stat check is not, you know, reasonable. And this is the bigger one. I think this is really what annoyed people. Look at how big of a stat jump it is. Look at the original Anastasia, and then look at the Super Recollection quest. I mean, her stats were increased so much. It's like, what the hell, right? Like, cut that in half, okay? And then it's like, oh, all right. Like, I don't think people would have complained if they did, like, you know, Mega Anastasia, and she just had a bit more health. Or, like, just the same health, but an extra health bar, right? I don't think anyone would have complained, because then, yeah, it's going to be a bit harder, you know, and you're going to feel it, but it's not going to be unreasonable or, you know, that crazy, and I think people would have been okay with that. But yeah, they take a boss from being, like, you know, 500k to, like, 3 million. It's like, what the fuck? You know, what happened? What about going from 500k to, like, 1.5 million, right? Why are we going, like, well, what? Jesus. And the reason they did that, though, is I know why. I absolutely know why they shifted, like, so hard like that. It's because Castoria. It's completely because of Castoria. Castoria enables so much broken bullshit. It is so hard to make players struggle and make them feel like, oh man, this is tough, this is a boss fight. It is so hard for them to get that experience, which I know Nasu wants because he said he wants that. It's so hard to do that if people are using Castoria. That's the thing. It's just, if they want you to be like, oh god, this is tough, and you're using Castoria, it's just not going to happen unless they give the bosses just outrageously high stats. And that is why I don't like Castoria, by the way. Like, that's why it's just not good for game design. Because actually, I agree with Nasu. This is not me reading between the lines. There's been several interviews. This is literally what's happening. Natsu played Dark Souls, loved it, and then he wanted FGO to have harder boss fights, and that's why Camelot happened, and he had Gwaine and all that. And that's when we started making challenge quests and all that. That's completely because of Natsu. They have solely accredited that, like, change to FGO to Natsu specifically, because he likes Dark Souls a lot. And then they added blue cubes because they knew some people hated it. And they said that was again because of Natsu. So they could make hard boss fights, but then the people that don't want to do it don't have to do it, right? So that's the whole thing. But the thing is, Nasu's not wrong. Now, that doesn't mean their boss design is always, like, as good as it could be, and that kind of thing. But Nasu is actually correct in that most video games, and there's exceptions, but exceptions prove the rule, most video games need a degree of friction. So you do feel like you accomplished something. And so you actually, if there was no friction in FGO, why are you trying to get your favorite character to 120? Why are you trying to get your skills to 10, 10, 10? Why, if the game is like so face roll and you don't have to do anything, you don't have to pay attention, why does any of it matter? Right? It is a motivational thing for people that there is friction in the game, so they work towards overcoming it. That is an incredibly useful tool in video games, and that is why almost, again, there are exceptions, but exceptions prove the rule, almost every video game has a degree of friction in it. Obviously not as much as like Dark Souls or something, but most video games have friction in it. And FGO really didn't have any for a long time. And it's important that FGO does have friction. That does not mean the friction needs to be insane. It doesn't mean you need to like drive people nuts. It doesn't mean you need to make everything a stat check. It doesn't mean you have to have a bunch of 5 stars to beat it, right? That's not what friction means, right? And so I do think they've missed the mark, but I think the reason they're missing the mark is because of Castoria. She is so broken. Because it's one thing for a unit to be really strong or to be top tier. Someone has to be top tier. It's not a big deal if it's Castoria. I mean that. Something has to be top tier. It's not a big deal if it happens to be Castoria. But she is so much better than like Hans and Mash and you know, David and all that. She is so much better than those units that if you're not using her, you are so much weaker than everyone else, and because of that, almost everyone is using her. So then they design bosses with that in mind, and then it's just a whole bunch of bullshit, and you know, it's a huge problem. No, I don't think Gajuna. Unless you mean the Gajuna fight, like if it's like bullshit, it's not that either. But yeah, Castoria is nuts, and like I know a lot of people like Castoria, and they want her to be really strong, and that's fine. But the thing is, Castoria could be the strongest unit in the game, as she is, she could still be that and not be this overpowered. Same for Merlin, same for Veach, same for, you know, all that stuff. All of the super high tier support bullshit. They could be the best units in the game, still, but not be as strong as they are, and I think that would be better for the game. Yeah, I know, it used to be about Merlin, and it's still true for Merlin though. Merlin is still, like, busted as fuck. And actually, one of the most broken combos is Castoria and Merlin together. Like, that is absolutely one of the most broken things you can do in FGO. Like abso-freaking-lutely. We'll go, bang, bang, bang. Yeah, Merlin was actually voted as one of the most desired servants to get buffed, and it's just because, not like Merlin is weak, it's just because he's not as good as, like, Veach and Oberyn and Castoria. That's the only reason. But the #1 most voted servant that people wanted to see buffed, at least of the, you know, management, you know, readership, so it's, you know, not a perfect sample size, of course. But, the #1 pick was Geronimo. And, funnily enough, I don't think Geronimo is actually the weakest unit in the game, but the thing is, Geronimo is only, like, kind of okay because his NP is so good for a low start. That's the only reason. His skills are fucking stupid. And it does not take a genius. You don't gotta be Sherlock Holmes to look at Geronimo's toolkit and be like, wow, this is bad. Right? Like, anybody can see that. It is so easily understandable that Geronimo is trash. Like, Jekyll and Hyde is way worse than Geronimo. Right? And actually, Jekyll and Hyde was on the list too. He wasn't #1, but Jekyll and Hyde was on the list too. But, yeah, Geronimo was the #1 most voted for needs a buff. So, yeah, hopefully that'll happen at some point. Yeah, no, a lot of people's ideas for... Here's the thing. I've seen many developers from many different companies say this. And I agree with them completely. Fans, the players, on average, are good at bringing attention to a problem. They are not good at coming up with a solution, and I think that is so true. When you look at the app, now that doesn't mean everyone, right? Obviously, there's exceptional people in communities and players and stuff that know what they're talking about. But the player bases at large for any video game, they are very good at articulating that there's a problem. They have absolutely no idea how to fix it. And generally the ideas you'll see from the player base for FGO, an MMO, first-person shooter, card game, generally the ideas they put forth to fix a problem are horrible. I mean, they are fucking horrible. And FGO is no exception. Most people's ideas of how to fix a character are trash. And it's because most people just aren't very technical. They don't think about a lot of the repercussions. They don't see a lot of, like, number balancing. So they're not good at the solution. But they are good at articulating, wow, this isn't fun, or I don't want to use this character, or this, you know. So you should listen to your players if there's a problem, but you generally don't listen to them on how to fix it. You need to listen to smart people on how to fix it. Be it the few people in the community that are smart, or your staff that are experienced and stuff, right? You need the experts to come up with the solution. But you do need to listen to the players to figure out there's a problem in the first place. A lot of times developers think something is fun and the player base just absolutely hates it. And you need to listen to that. Like, you need to, right? Now again, don't necessarily listen to the solution, right? Because sometimes they'll want you to throw out the baby with the bathwater, and that, you know, generally is not always going to be a good idea. But if the players are not enjoying something, you need to fucking listen. Because if they're not enjoying it, they're not enjoying it, right? And it's that simple. And yeah, players know when they're not having fun. They may not know why they're not having fun, they may not know how to fix it, etc., etc. But yeah, for God's sakes, when your players are not having fun, you need to listen to them. And a lot of devs don't do that, though. A lot of devs get on, like, this whole power trip thing, and they don't want to, like, it's like pride and whatnot. They don't want to accept that they did something wrong, right? But yeah, that's true. It does go beyond video games. It's actually a pretty common thing. That the masses will be like, yep, this sucks, but then you need experts to know how to fix it. Well, Jekyll and Hyde could be fixed with a single buff, but not with a single buff that they would typically do. So here's how you fix Jekyll and Hyde in a single buff. You buff his NP again, which you can do. They buff Vlad's NP more than once, right? So you buff his NP again, and you add a Star Bomb to it, you add Star's Return to it, you add an attack up to it, you change his dex to Triple Buster. Jekyll and Hyde is fixed. He's not godly now, but he is very usable now. So the Star Bomb helps you do damage the second you MP, and that's important because a lot of other units get to do that, and he's doing 0 damage with the NP, right? That sucks. So he needs the Star Bomb to just like, you know, go, go, go. And I would actually make it so, I would give him a unique mechanic where his stars would apply to that turn. So if you do his NP and like, you know, Art Buster or whatever, it gets changed immediately. So if that art card is the one that gets changed to Buster, it gets changed immediately. The stars you make, just like the quick chain, how now the quick chain, you know, applies a crit boost, it applies it immediately. Maybe you do that to the Star Bomb actually. You do stars per turn, and then you just have his NP increase your crit chance of the chain. Just like a quick. Like you make his NP make the chain do more crit, just like a quick chain does, right? You can even do it before the NP happens. It's just part of the card, right? So do that. You can cut the Star Bomb, but do stars per turn and do an attack up. He's fixed. He's not godly, but he's fixed because and that's not like way too strong at all. That's not even remotely too strong. But like the attack up is really important because Jekyll and Hyde has an art card and a quick card and an extra attack, and he's gonna have to use those. And because he just went from Assassin to Berserker, you know, his multiplier went from 2.0 to 1.5. You don't want... You want it to be just pure positive. Everything about switching to Hyde should be a positive, and the only reason you should wait is trying to get value out of the heal, right? So you should want to get as much out of Jekyll as you can. This is how I think his gameplay should go, and I want to hear from like Jekyll and Hyde fans if they agree with me. I think, you know, Jekyll should be weak, but you should still try to get as much out of him as you can. Because like, why have a transformation system if there's no choice in it? If you just want to immediately transform, what's the point? Why didn't you just start as Hyde at that point, right? So Jekyll should be weaker than Hyde in like every way, lore-wise, of course. But he should have enough value that he can do something. Again, much weaker than Hyde, but he can still do something. And because you get that free heal, you should want to use Jekyll as long as you can. And you should try to like, you know, maximize the heal value, but then sometimes you might want to be like play it safe and do it a little earlier, right? There's the decision making, right? But then when you transform, it should be awesome. Hyde should just be this, you know, fucking killer because you worked for it. You waited all those turns using Jekyll, for God's sakes, who sucks, and then you did an NP that does 0 damage. So your payoff should be now Hyde is a goddamn monster, right? That's only goddamn fair, right? He did 0 fucking damage. You have so many negatives here. The payoff needs to be really good, and it's not, right? So yeah, he needs an attack buff that's permanent to go along with his Buster Up that's permanent. He needs to make stars per turn, so he at least has a prayer on actually critting. And then maybe you add Star Absorb too, but you know, it's not terrible to have him have cons, right? He needs to rely on teammates. That's not terrible. But yeah, really just giving him an attack up would be a huge benefit, like for real. Like it makes it, because the problem is he has 2 quick cards, right? He has 2 quick cards and his NP just gives him Buster Up. Do you see the problem here? So he's got an art card, 2 quick cards, and extra attack. That is 4 cards that receive no benefit from transforming, right? That is a huge fucking problem, right? And then on top of that, you know, you can't cast his skills and then the NP, and then have the skills upgrade, right? Stuff like that. There's so many problems with him. But all of those problems can be overpowered through just giving him a strong NP buff, right? And that's why I was really disappointed. They buffed his NP a long time ago, and they didn't do enough. They just didn't do enough. All they did was make the Buster Up bigger. That is just fucking not enough, right? He needs an attack up. He needs like oomph. Right, you could give him a crit up, you could give him Star Bomb, you give him stars per turn. Right, you need to do something beyond just LOL, I have a Buster Up. Because he only has 2 Buster cards, and he can't NP again. So, like, a permanent Buster Up is not half as good as it sounds in that context. But hopefully they're going to buff him again, right? Like, the buff they gave him was so bad. I'm curious, does anyone disagree with me? I want to know, does anyone disagree with me? I think Jekyll and Hyde's buff is the worst buff they have ever done in the entire history of FGO. Now, there are some other ones that I would definitely agree are also bad, but I think it is the worst buff they have ever done. It is so useless, it's remarkable to me, because you lose your crit buff if you do it, and you lose the heal if you do it. The only benefit is you could go for, overcharge. That's the only benefit, and that's a pretty... How is Geronimo's worse? Geronimo's buff was the upgraded his NP, so it does more damage. How is that worse than Jekyll and Hyde's buff? Like, explain this to me. Like, obviously, Geronimo getting an upgraded NP is not the most revolutionary thing that's ever happened in this game, but his NP, like, on average, does 20% more damage. You know what Jekyll and Hyde does since his buff? Nothing. His gameplay didn't change at all. Like, generally speaking, you are not going to use his buff, and and if you do, you are now losing the crit buff, so you actually got worse. Like, you literally made Jekyll and Hyde worse because you used the battery. Way to go. Geronimo got a complete net positive. Like, explain to me how Geronimo's buff is not a net positive, right? He just does 20% more damage. Yes, that's not enough. He needs more than that, of course. So I'm not saying, wow, Geronimo's buff is the best thing that ever happened. But like, Geronimo's buff is a 20% damage boost roughly to his NP, just straight up. That is an objective positive, right? And there's no negative. There's no like, oh, maybe it's good, maybe it's not. There's no side grade. It's just positive. And Jekyll and Hyde's isn't, right? Jekyll and Hyde's at best is a side grade. That is that has nothing to do with Geronimo's buff. Him being a caster doesn't mean anything. He was a caster inherently. That doesn't make his buff worse. So people not listen to what came out of my mouth. I'm not talking about if Geronimo is better than Jekyll and Hyde, which by the way, he is, and I think that is provable because occasionally Geronimo is actually useful in challenge quests, not often, but occasionally. Jekyll and Hyde has never been useful for a single stage in the entirety of FGO history, and I don't think any of the 1 to 3 star players use them for anything outside of showing off. And I'm included in that. But regardless of if Geronimo is better than Jekyll and Hyde or not, that's not the question. The question is Jekyll and Hyde's buff the worst buff they've ever done in the game, right? Geronimo being better or not is not, it doesn't matter, right? And like Kiyohime is definitely in the running for one of the worst buffs ever, absolutely. But her buff was at least a 6% defense buff. Now, granted, that is very minor, right? And it's also the burn thing, so but that's very niche, right? It's something, but it's very niche. But Kiyohime's buff was still an objective, straightforward value increase. It's a very small one, right? So it's not great, right? The burn thing is an objective increase. There's no downside to it. It's not like, oh, if I use the burn thing, now I'm not able to use Kiyohime's Buster Up. That didn't happen, right? The burn thing is just an upgrade. The extra defense up is just an upgrade. Doesn't change the way you need to use your skills, doesn't change your order, doesn't fuck up with anything, right? It is just an upgrade, right? There's no side grade bullshit there. It is just an upgrade. Very minor one, but it's just an upgrade. Jekyll and Hyde's is not even like a clear upgrade, right? Like a lot of times if you take advantage of the buff, you're actually worse, so it's more of a side grade. And it's a really bad side grade at that point. I would say Jekyll and Hyde is the worst. But see, the thing is, you keep disagreeing, but you're not giving me like you're not giving me anything. You're like, how is if it's not the worst buff, what's worse and how is it worse, right? Because I can give you numbers here, right? Jekyll and Hyde's is the worst because if you rush your NP, you're skipping your heal, and now you can't use Hyde's crit buff because you use Jekyll's crit buff, and Jekyll's crit buff is trash. So now you're unable to cast the crit buff in Hyde form, which is, let's be honest, it's still not that good of a crit buff, but it's significantly better than the Jekyll one. So if you took advantage of Jekyll's buff, you lost something. You lost two things. That's pretty bad, right? Now again, you can argue that, but yeah, maybe you need to get the NP sooner because maybe Jekyll got fucked up and lost his health really quickly and you don't want to heal right away, right? So it's not like, it's not impossible for it to be useful, but it's very likely that it won't be, right? Where a lot of the other buffs, they are objectively an upgrade. I can't even think of it. The only other buff I can think of that you could argue, I would disagree, but I can see an argument is Artoria, because especially with the deck changes, right? Because Artoria's buff was already kind of weird with them forcing the Buster on you. Because there were times that you wanted the NP up, but you still wanted to do art after, right? And now you can't. And then if you want to do the art after, you have to not have the NP up. And it's like, well, that sucks, right? So that was already a problem. But now because of rainbow chains, I would actually say Artoria's buff is pretty shit now. Like, yeah, the NP itself still does really good damage because she has NP up, Buster up, attack up, right? That's awesome. But Buster chains aren't very good anymore, right? Quick chains are still good, art chains are still good, but Buster chains aren't really that good anymore. Like, really, with the way I feel like Artoria now would pretty much always want to do NP art or NP quick art. Am I wrong? Like, I feel like you pretty much always want to do that now, because what you gain from doing the Buster You might want to do sometimes, right? Because it might be enough damage to like break a health bar that wouldn't otherwise, right? So you need the damage from the big NP damage, the NP up, all that, and then you want to do Buster and get the Buster Brave Chain, right? And that might be just enough damage to break. But I think way more times than not, you're going to break or not break with or without the Buster Chain. It's either going to work or it's not. The extra damage from the Buster Chain is not going to make a difference. And you'd rather do Quick Art because then you make a lot of refund, and that works with her overcharge, and you make a healthy chunk of stars because you did the quick card, and now you get the 20% higher crit chance. So I think Artoria wants to rainbow after NP almost all the time. I think she wants to Buster Quick Art almost all the time, or Buster Art Quick, depending on context. And occasionally she wants to Buster. Like she will want to Buster sometimes, but now you fucking have to. And I don't think it's good, right? Yeah, honestly, Mordred was already like debatably better than Artoria. You know, they're kind of back and forth depending on context, because Mordred's got the better survivability and she's got the debuff clear, yada yada. But honestly, I really do think the combat change like disproportionately affected Artoria. Artoria didn't like get weaker because she could, you know, she had to Buster Chain before and she still does, but Buster Chains are not as good compared to your other options anymore. So almost every other unit in the game got more better than Artoria did, if that makes sense. And that makes her buff really meh. No, Mordred's MP does not hit weak. What the fuck are you talking about? She has one of the higher attack stats out of Sabers. She has an upgraded NP multiplier, and she has a 50% Buster up. How does that translate into your NP hitting real weak? Like what? Like, yes, she doesn't hit as hard as Artoria because Artoria has a Buster up and an attack up and an NP up, but Artoria also has a lower attack stat. Now, obviously, it still favors Artoria. Although, funnily enough, actually, if you're repeat NPing over and over, actually Mordred will eventually do more damage than Artoria just because she has a higher attack stat. But on average, you're doing more with Artoria. It's just you will have an NP every once in a while when you run out of buffs. Where Mordred is higher. But yeah, Mordred has very good NP damage, just as Artoria has more NP damage. Also, Siegfried really is the answer now. I'm not even kidding. I'm not memeing. Siegfried is just so good now. And if you're a Siegfried fan and you grail him, you're eating so good now. Because he can repeat NP so quickly now, because he's got all these NP ups, got his art cards, he can rainbow chain with no sweat. You know, doesn't care if he rainbow chains. And now he's got Buster up, upgraded NP, and an attack up that, you know, lasts a long time. And obviously, there's lots of dragons out there, and he gets to work with St. George, and now that's so worth it because he gets so much against dragons now. Like, Siegfried is in such good shape now, it's ridiculous. Oh yeah, and he has battery too, excuse me, I forgot about that. He's got double NP gain up and battery, because, you know, he needed that, and an attack up. Oh, and a debuff clear, like Mordred, because a real benefit to Mordred is the debuff clear, absolutely. But Siegfried's got it too. And he also heals for a bunch. So, yeah, the only thing, like, Mordred versus Siegfried, the only thing Mordred's got going for her is, she has the defense up, which is more preemptive than the heal, and that can matter, that can matter. And she does crit very reliably because of her second skill, right? And then her crits are very powerful. So she has something over Siegfried, but Siegfried has a fuckload over her. So, yeah, honestly, Siegfried's pretty nuts. And really, if you want to get like massive boom for your buck, you don't have to grail him to 100. You can just grail him to 90. It's just two grails. It's just 2 grails, 10 levels, and then with all that, a big attack up, Buster up, all that. It's crazy. So yeah, Siegfried's doing pretty good. Chat, me and Cairo should have tried to convince people that Siegfried was trash, so we could have added him to the garbage account before he got buffed, and then he gets buffed, and then we would have just wrecked everything. But I don't, you know, even before his last buff, me and Cairo had always been in the camp that Siegfried was fine, which I stand by that. He was fine. So we would never have been able to convince anyone that would have been the case. But yeah, that would have been a big bang strat for sure. But yeah, a little late now. Why am I cleaning up with berserkers? I mean, what else am I going to do? I guess. This might be a boss fight, but I'm hoping it's not. But we'll see. I haven't been paying attention to what I've been doing. I don't remember what, let me see, what is Siegfried's final buff tied to? I don't think it's tied to 5.5, but we'll see. The thing is, before 5.5 though, as you're working through the story, he's more than good enough with his other buffs. I mean, he's fine. And you use, here's the thing, George is such a good unit anyway. That's the thing, I use George religiously when I'm not using Siegfried. So and then if you slap Siegfried in there, it's just even better. Okay, let's see. Siegfried. Which one is it? I think it's yeah, it's this one. It is tied to it okay, requires 4th Ascension and clear the 2nd Strengthening quest. So nope, you don't need to do it. I think why people think you need to do it is because the way the wiki words it. The wiki says this quest was released as part of 6.5. You put that in part of the Strengthening quest, but it's not a requirement. Now the wiki could be wrong, but the wiki says requirement, 4th Ascension, and done the 2nd Strengthening quest. That's it. So you don't have to do it. So you could do it incredibly early. I always say it's good to have a level George and a non-level George, and even a medium level George. It's just really good to have that kind of option available to you. It's very good. Okay, this is a boss fight. Great. Might have to bring a better setup than this, but we'll see if we can do it. They don't have hard survival right now because I don't have their 3rd skill because of this game. So that could be a problem. Small, medium, and large. Yeah, that's right. Pretty much so. Come on, give me the good. That's not the. I wish we had that command code, dude. So much better when you have an 80% chance to get the attack up and defense up opposed to 60. We could rainbow here, but it'd be pretty awkward. Do that, that's fine. If you take George to 120, you got to level 1 though to like 60 and stuff, because sometimes that's just going to be too tanky. Now, a lot of times you want to be as tanky as you can be, and that's fine, but there are fights where you're wanting to rotate, and it'd be super hard to rotate a 120 George. He's just so tanky. However, there are probably more fights where you're actually happy if your tank just stays alive, especially if you don't have Poster Girl or anything like that. So there's plenty of benefits to it. And again, you would do pretty solid damage at that point, so there are lots of positives. But there are some negatives, so you still want a regular one. Level 120 Georges, one for each level, yeah. Inventory hell right there. Wait, does George get anti-berserker? I didn't even know that. Alright. Come on. There you go. At least got the attack up. I guess we saved this one because it lets him MP right away. Actually, we'll do this. And maybe she still does her extra attack, but I doubt it. This one's a bit better to rainbow. I use George as my DPS for Demeter. I mean, fuck it. It's actually it's not crazy because Demeter really can't kill George to save her life. So he gets anti-berserker. That's really good then. Yeah, Grail George's got some options there, and I get the feeling that they're gonna buff him someday. I actually want them to buff his NP because you don't want to buff his tankiness. That really might be too good. But if you buff his DPS, most people won't even take advantage of it. Like, they're not going to use him for his NP. But if he's got an upgraded NP in the pocket, if you happen to, like, get attacked a lot, get NP that way, and use it, get a bit more out of it. And if you want to make him an art DPS, because there's not a lot of art rider DPS, and then, like, especially for budget, you got Ricky and that's it. That'd be kind of nice. So yeah, I think upgrading his NP would be good. And also add anti-dragon damage to it, because that's actually what it does in lore. He's got one NP that turns him into a dragon and a different one that does bonus damage, and Ascalon is actually the one that does bonus damage. So they kind of fucked that up. But anyway, yeah, let him do bonus damage to dragons, that's fine. And then upgrade his NP to, like, yeah, just do that. Upgrade his NP so it does like roughly 20% more damage like normal. And then add anti-dragon damage to it, and have him apply the dragon trait before damage, and you know, there you go. That would not be broken, that wouldn't be OP, but it makes the synergy with Siegfried even better. And it just allows you to use George as a DPS if you want to, and it's more lore accurate, so I think that's completely fine. Okay, we will do this. Guess we'll go ahead and Buster. more stars. What's the best star gen I can do? I guess it would be that. Although I had double quick actually might have been better. I'm just thinking if you crit, you make more stars than you crit, so. It's like that encourages me to rainbow chain, I put Buster up. Maybe make a star, right? So normally not. We're just like loving a card to death over here with the tree spear. Can you imagine if they ever, like, I remember a couple of games have done this, it's very rare, but there was like a Ragnarok online game or whatever that did this, I remember, where when they finally stopped like supporting the online version, they created like a single player version. If you did that, you know, people would mod the crap out of FGO. That'd be so wild. Alright, yeah, I don't think that game was like super good, but I know there was like a game, one of their games that they made like a single player version of the online version after the fact. It's good in principle, even if the game itself wasn't good. Okay, I think that's good. The extra attack does absolutely insane damage, so it's basically a single target NP. I think we can still win here, though. That would it kill them to give Lancelot like a star bomb with that, or just, you know, a bigger crit up? I wouldn't hate that either. Well, that was unlucky as fuck. I hate when this happens because it just makes the deck shuffle every turn, so you're never guaranteed to get the cards you want. But that's a reason, I guess, not to do a team like that. Leo got this. Deck him in the schnoz. Or you could just, you know, not crit with a single attack. He could have killed that turn if he just crit. Of course you crit. That takes even longer. Fucking die. These fights are so much easier than Camelot, dude. Like, I had to take Camelot fights so seriously, and we lost them a lot, and it was... Now, that'll happen, don't get me wrong, Babylonia will get hard eventually. But I really don't like how easy early Babylonia is. Like, that fight right there is not comparable to Gwaine at all. And just Gwaine, never mind Ozzy and the Demon Pillar and Lion King, right? These fights are so much easier. Like, they're easier, and it's farther in the game, so you could theoretically have stronger units. I think Babylonia really missed the mark like that. Chat, imagine a fight, imagine Fluffy, right? Everything about the Fluffy fight, all the mechanics, all the health, all that nonsense. And imagine that Fluffy still gets the 2 to 3 actions per turn like normal, right? So then just as a bonus, so the enemies could actually attack more than 3 times. Like they can in those stages where there's 6 enemies, right? So just as like a bonus enemy, you just have like Ozzy's Demon Pillar there. Just with Fluffy. It's just there, right? You have to deal with all of the Fluffy stuff, but then there's that asshole there too, right? That would be so awful, right? Like, and you can make that so much worse. Let's see. How cancer can we do this, right? Like, 1 extra enemy. Who's the worst fucking thing? Oh, I got it. Nero Fest King Asan. There you go. Yeah, have fun with that one. Or you could even do a rider, because the rider would fuck up Castoria really bad. Oh my god, enemy Benkei, you're not even kidding. Literally just, you don't even have to give him a gimmick. Just put Benkei with a lot of health or health bars there. And that is, you're not even kidding. That is awful. Oh my god, that is awful. Because he will just randomly skill seal and NP seal you and taunt, so you can't attack Fluffy. Holy shit, that is awful. That would add so much RNG to the fight. I would hate that. I would hate that so much. And then if you make Benkei, if you give him the upgraded NP, so then he does buff removal with the stun and everything, just get out of here, dude. Just get out of here. Because buff removal is like the one thing that really fucks up Artoria. That would be terrible. And now imagine this, chat. So now imagine like the Fluffy emote we got, right? Imagine that. And on either side of him, there's a Benkei. There's 2 of them. And again, you're using the rules for like a 6 enemy node, so they're allowed to attack more. Right? You can just customize it where they can attack more. That's just awful, dude. Absolutely awful. Like that is, and you give like the bin case 3 health bars, right? So you can only go so fast on killing them. Like that would just be terrible. Okay, so we're fighting every class under the sun here, so I think we just open up with Berserkers. I'll do it like that. Oh, do I want to do his NP? Because he's like still pretty low statted. He's not like foed at all and stuff. I don't think we bother. And then we'll clean up with Anastasia, I guess. Although honestly, I think Shakespeare is actually better right now. Well, Arash wouldn't really work out because Benkei is a Lancer, so... Yeah, I think people already blue cube on Fluffy all of the time. But if you added that, you added Benkei like that, with like, Fluffy still getting 2 to 3 actions every turn, right? Like, that would just be so bad. At that point, you want to use like a broken, overpowered AoE unit. You could do it. It would still be beatable, but it would be terrible. Damn it, I wanted him to kill that Buster, that's why I put it first. He might have killed the other guy. Well, I messed that up. Damn, Lancelot is so cool though. There ain't no denying that. Give me NP game. Massive overkill, but I don't need game. Well, you know, I didn't need that much NP though. Yeah, I should have killed him. Wait a minute. There we go. I tell you, Rainbow Chains actually really help you in stages like this, because you are freer to get like more damage while target switching the way that you want. Well, Lancelot just had a bad time. There's another wave, so I'd like to save my NPs, but they're making that a little difficult. Oh, the music is looping. Although this song is awesome, but let me fix that. Now chat's gonna be mad at me because I changed it, but... Oh well. Alright, I feel like we can live one more turn with the damage cut, and then we could do the invulnerability. You know what? Let's hit this one. Trying really hard to save my NP here. Really, you could just do like a collage Tesla Fest type thing. Bring all of the fights back, there you go. But they honestly might just do it in the fashion that they did Tesla Fest, where instead of making a bunch of new stuff, they bring back old stuff and repurpose it. But I actually don't mind that. I thought that was really clever. I really liked it. How long can we keep Lancelot alive? Last enemies. Please don't hit mash. There we go. I have not even tried to get his NP, but we're about to get it. Yeah, they could just use story replay, that's true, you know. Let us play, like, challenge quests that are more than 2 years old. Alright, like, after they've been rerun, just let us play them whenever we want. I mean, for fuck's sakes, like... Let me have fun, please. Like, I wanna use Fergus, and I'm like, what the fuck am I gonna use Fergus on? This is buff. Like, goddamn. Yeah, if I cast Guts, he might die anyway, because he's so low on health. But I kind of want to try. She should be fine. She's got damage cut, defense up, and vulnerability, so I can wait to do her NP. I'm like a rank 1-star absorb skill. If he was level 80, 1k Fode, and I had his skill at 10, that would have been really good. Why'd you have to crit the first one? Yep, I had a feeling that was like the worst luck possible, because he double crit, and even drained our NP, so we just could not get value out of the Guts there. What a dick. Good Rainbow. Yeah, she's not gonna NP again. Slap the extra curse in there. Did Hercules just bonk Lancelot because, you know, Hercules was the original Berserker and Lancelot was the second Berserker? Is that what's going on here? I actually remember these days, by the way, when there was so little Fate content that it was pretty much just Fate Tonight and Fate Zero. That I remember there being like a rivalry between Hercules and Lancelot fans. That was absolutely a thing. By the way, this is so hard for me to explain because I really like Lancelot and his armor is so great. It's like exactly what I want. But I like Hercules more. I don't know. There's just something about Hercules that is so special in the Fate franchise, in my opinion. You know, he's like the guy, right? He's the original Chad. He had to put up with so much unfair bullshit in Fate Stay Night, right? I don't think I stand by this. I don't think any character has to put up with more plot armor bullshit than Hercules in Fate Stay Night. It is insane how much plot armor bullshit he has to put up with. It is absolutely ridiculous. And he was just, yeah, the Berserker, and he's the most famous hero in human history, right? So yeah, I have such a soft spot for Hercules, and I want Sane Hercules more than anything, and we're never gonna get it. Because everybody wants Avenger Hercules, and you think it's Archer Hercules, but it's actually Avenger Hercules, and it sucks. Because we're gonna get that, and everyone's like, hey, it's normal Hercules, right? And it's not. I just want regular Hercules. It doesn't have to be Archer, it can be Saber, it can be Rider, I just want regular, no Grail corruption, no Lost Belt bullshit, nothing fucking weird. I just want, and I don't think that's asking for a lot, considering we have that for so many other characters. We have regular Artoria and a million weird ones. We have regular Ku, we have all these regular servants, and somehow the most famous hero in all of human history can just never get a regular version. Right? What are we doing here? But yeah, if we could get Saint Herc, that would make my day. I'd actually pick that over most things to be. I would, even though I personally subjectively want Henry V. It's one of my most wanted things, right? And Butch Cassidy, Red Baron, those kinds of things. If I could pick to add one thing to FGO, I would pick Saint Hercules, just because I think that deserves it more than anything ever, and I think we just need that really bad. And again, he's the most famous hero in human history, so I'm like, this just needs to happen. Normal border gun would be awesome, but even that, right? Subjectively, I'd want that really bad. And Genical, what's up, man? Thank you for the 35 months. And tier 2, dude. Thank you. I do not deserve the support, but I thank you regardless. But yeah, I would personally really want Vortigern, but in terms of what I think deserves to be in the game, and it's pretty hard to top Sane Hercules, to be honest. But yeah, subjectively, what I want, just for myself, is obviously Vortigern, yeah, Green Knight, Henry V, right, those kinds of things. But yeah, no, Herc needs to be in here. She is so freaking crazy. You know what? Actually, I think we rainbow because of the crits. And it's not bad to make the stars. Yeah, I'm actually gonna put Quick Blast just because I want to try to crit next turn with Anastasia. Okay, well, that didn't crit. Ajax would be pretty cool. Okay, so I've always known about Ajax because like I learned about Greek mythology when I was pretty young, so I've always like known about Ajax. But I'm not sure. I don't really know where he is popularity-wise. I feel like he's like kind of known, and some people might be like, yeah, I think I know that's a Greek hero. But I don't think a lot of people are going to be aware of like the different stories with him, like defending Achilles' corpse. And there's that one story where the gods drove him insane, and although that's the one I think everyone will attach to, which kind of sucks because they'll make him a berserker, even though he has like all these other accomplishments that have nothing to do with the gods driving him insane. But anyway, but yeah, I've always known about Ajax, but I'm not sure like where he is popularity-wise. I think it's kind of like maybe middle. Like he's not even close to Achilles, let's be honest. But I think a lot of people would recognize the name, and if you told them it was a Greek hero, they're like, yeah, I've probably heard that, but they probably couldn't tell you much about like his accomplishments or like what weaponry he was famous for or any of that, and they might not even know that he was in like Troy and stuff. But they'll probably recognize the name, but that's it. Well, going for crits did not exactly work out. We will do that. We actually might lose this. It was really because of the Lancelot thing that was really, really bad for us. He gets the attack up though, so 20k. Oh god, she's not gonna do it. Oh my god, she's so fucking pathetic, dude. That's insane that she could. Okay, well she took like no damage, so it didn't matter because this thing's attack stat is trash apparently. And it dies this salami sandwich from the grave there. Actually, I think a lot of Emiya fans don't know that Ajax is the origin of the shield. I mean that. The hardcore ones will know, and the ones that maybe read the visual novel will know, but you gotta understand, most people only watch the anime. And yeah, the anime don't tell you about Ajax, so I don't think it does. I don't remember, but I don't think it does. Yeah, I think a lot of Emiya fans have absolutely no idea who Ajax is. And then they'll be like, they'll be more, oh, that, if you say, oh, it's the original owner of Roaius, right? That'll mean more to them than if you just said, he was in the Trojan War, right? But yeah, I think a lot don't know. Yeah, I didn't think the anime told you. Yeah, I didn't think so. And like, the name of the shield is not like so famous that people are gonna be like, oh, that thing, right? Like, it's not a thing. But yeah, I like Ajax quite a bit, so I wish they would add him, and you could do a lot with him. But they'll probably be really boring and make him a berserker and have him punch things. Chat, can you imagine though if we got like this badass like Chad with the shield and like a hammer, and then like because he's got some stuff where he uses like fists. And like maybe for his extra attack, he like drops the hammer in the shield, and the shield will obviously be Roaius, right? And he just like goes Horalu on somebody real quick with his extra attack, right? That would be fantastic, dude. So just give me a big Greek Chad, big boy weapon, because he had like I think a stone hammer that he had, I think, or something like that. But yeah, shield obviously, but then he had some stuff where he used his like, his fists. So you could do that too, right? Like that'd be great. I actually feel confident that Ajax is one of the heroes they would not gender bend or do lolly stuff. That happens randomly all the time. Like there's like this part of the community that gets like mad when you all say that kind of stuff because they act like, right? But it's like the reason the community makes that joke all the time is because the devs do it all the fucking time. Right? It's actually a pretty reasonable fear to be like, oh my god, what if they make this like a lolly foreigner? Right? People have that fear for a very justifiable reason. But anyway, I actually do feel like Ajax, that would not happen to him just because his name is Ajax. It's kind of hard to do like a lolly with the name Ajax, right? I mean, it's still possible, right? Like, it's still possible. But I really do think I don't think they'd add Ajax in the first place. But if they did add Ajax, I'm pretty sure they would do it at least somewhat normal. Now, they could do Space Ajax, because they could do that anytime, right? They can apply space to literally anything. So it could be Space Ajax. And that would really suck. I'm so sick of this shit, dude. And like, I know Cairo is too. Actually, he's complained to me a lot about it. I'm so sick of fake characters having to be lollies, gender bent, or from space. I'm just so fucking tired of it. Like, I did not get into Fate in the first place because I wanted space heroes, right? I just liked anime and history, and that's what it used to be. And now it's just, there's so much bullshit. It's like, it's so rare. It's rare that we get something normal now. I just think that's really dumb, right? Like, it's rare that we get something normal, right? And most of the normal stuff is all Japanese, right? Like, they make normal Japanese stuff constantly, and there's only occasionally weird Japanese stuff. But if you're not Japanese, you're very likely to be a lolly, gender bent from space, or just really weird, or really modern, or, you know, something like that. It's very rare that they just take a classical take with anything but Japanese stuff. Right? And like, you know, I don't mind William Tell, but I would have really preferred William Tell to have been a way more classical take. Still make an anime, of course, but I would have really preferred him not to be so modern. Like, even though, yeah, cool, he's a cool grandpa, right? You know, no hate, of course no hate, but like, I would have, you could have been a cool grandpa and not been modern, right? And like, why did we need that? Why does everything have to have a weird twist now? Right? And that interview with Nasu really disheartened me because he was basically saying they don't want to do normal stuff anymore. And I'm like, that's kind of stupid, right? Like, if you happen to be a hero that got selected in the early days, you get to be normal, but that if they didn't get around to creating you until later, you're like way more likely to be super weird. Like, that kind of sucks, especially if that character happens to be one of your favorites. It was like your favorite story or your favorite fairy tale or whatever. And like, I don't get the need for that, right? I don't see why we have to make that much weird stuff, especially when they make OCs, and OCs can be really weird, and OCs are really popular. You know, Kiara's popular, Emiya's popular, Shiro's popular, you know, Chloe's popular, Ilya's popular. All of these are straight OCs. That's popular, right? These are straight OC characters. So if they want to get, like, that's a better way to do weird shit and modern shit, in my opinion. And, you know, occasionally, and also alternate versions. You know, I don't really complain if they give us a normal version of a character, then they make something weird. You know, that's okay. Like, if we had gotten regular Van Gogh, and then they added fucking, you know, space gender bent Van Gogh, which is actually a nymph, but let's not even go there, you know, then I wouldn't have cared, right? I would not have cared. If we had gotten regular Paul Bunyan, and then they added, you know, whatever the hell you want to call the Paul Bunyan we got, then it doesn't really bother me. But so often they do stuff. The thing is, Kath, even if you don't like Van Gogh as an artist, I think you can accept that they deserved better than that. And like, and for people that like Van Gogh's work, they obviously deserve better than that. And you didn't even play the event. It's pretty messed up how they handled all that. I'm pretty sure Van Gogh was the most divisive time they ever did something like that. And Van Gogh is there's so much fan art of like, what if they didn't fuck it up. Like, I have just seen so much fan art of Van Gogh of what if they didn't fuck it up. Because, yeah, they really fucked up. I don't even want to explain to Cass what they did in the event. I don't want to get into all that outer god, nymph, fake memory bullshit. I don't have the energy for that right now. I'm not going there. But yeah, like, you don't have to like, I think what Cass was trying to say was you don't have to like Van Gogh to be like, they deserve more respect than that. And again, if you want to make a weird version, just make a normal one first, and then, you know, then go nuts, right? And I feel like they're doing the opposite with Herc, right? We get Berserker Herc, and then we get Avenger Herc, which is wearing, you know, the drapes, you know, fantastic, and then we just don't get normal Herc, right? It's like, what the fuck? Alright, so literally just bring every assassin ever, and then maybe MASH. That's probably the way to go about this. For some reason, we actually have a lot of assassins, so... Last second, Jason, for the heal and evade, I suppose. Okay, my Sanson is way stronger than Kairos, because his does, like, no damage, because it was, NP1, but I don't have to worry about that. Alright. Should be fine. Are we even close to 9? No. Not even a little bit. 9 to 10 is the big one, though, because it's double value. So you get 2 stars instead of 1 star for that level. I really wish we could get some foreigners that were like not based on normal things. Make if you're gonna make a wacky foreigner, make it something that it makes sense. And there goes the game. But do something that makes sense, like you know, Chaos. You know, Chaos could have been a foreigner, right? And look at, I always use this as an example. Look at Chaos from the Hades game, right? That's a really crazy design, but it works, right? So can we get that as a foreigner, right? Instead of Van Gogh, of all things, right? I'm not like super crazy about Jock Demoli for like either version, but obviously I like the Guy one more because it's just so whack what they did. It just, there's no reason to do that. But again, I didn't like regular Jacques Demoli that much. I didn't mind him. You know, he's fine. Like, yeah, he's kind of cool. But I don't like the modern twist with like the hoodie and glasses and stuff. I don't really care about that. Now, although they might have given him an Ascension stage that wasn't like that. Although I don't remember. Let me look at his Ascension stages in arcade. Heck, I think they all have a modern twist. I really don't like when you slap a modern twist on like medieval stuff or ancient Japan and stuff. And they don't. That's the thing. They don't do it for Japan that much, right? They do it to like everything but Japanese stuff. Like I guess Sei is one, but most Japanese servants are just normal. Where I feel like it's pretty rare. Yeah, all of his Ascensions though have like a modern twist to them. So yeah, I'm not really huge on that, but I don't mind him though still. He's certainly better than the foreigner nonsense. I don't know if Zeus will be summonable or not. I mean, they know they're teasing people. They put out like an NPC thing in the interview. And you know, they know they're teasing people. Interestingly enough though, Lasagna or Type Moon, I don't know which one, probably Type Moon though, they supplied them with the art assets for some of these characters that we've never seen before. They gave them like full body shots of like the character sprites and stuff. Some of them might have been data mined, but I don't think they'd ever been seen before. Like, so we got to see a full body shot of Zeus, Demeter, Aphrodite, M. Maxwell's demon, the cowgirl that we don't know the name of yet, and so yeah, as far as I'm aware, we had never seen like their full designs. So we actually got full body shots now, so that's kind of cool. Yeah, some of them are probably going to get added someday. I think the Japanese gunner lady, she's going to get added someday. I think the cowgirl will get added someday. I think Maxwell's demon has a pretty good chance, but it wouldn't shock me if he doesn't get added, but I think he has a decent chance of getting in. And then I think Aphrodite and Demeter have a way better chance of getting into Zeus, unfortunately. I wish that wasn't the case, but he might get in. He might. I'm sure they've been requested that a lot, I'm sure, so I know they must have at least put some thought into it, and if they're gonna do it or not, right? Like, they know people want it. I think Pope Jones could get added. She's one of those things that I don't think there's any hurry to do it because she's not that popular. But they might like reuse her in an event sometime. Like, yeah, we'll just make her summonable because there's nothing. As far as I can tell, there is nothing in the lore that would. She is completely summonable as far as I'm aware. Like, she is a normal servant. There's nothing weird going on. There's literally no reason she can't be summonable. So I could see her getting added. But look how long it took. Dude, Zhu Fu has always been popular. Look at how long it took for her to be playable. Now, I really think that they had always intended to make her playable because her giant ghost was silver and giant ghosts are always gold. So that was an intentional thing on their part. I mean, 100%. They did that on purpose. They randomly changed the giant ghost to be silver instead of gold. So they knew she was going to be a silver in advance. So they were always planning on adding her. But it took fucking years, and she's popular. So they planned from, because some of the NPCs that they made playable, I don't think were intended. They said with Jolter was not intended to be playable. But she was so popular that they did it, right? But Zhu Fu was intended to be playable, and she was popular, but it still took them 2 years. So then you got all these, you know, people from like Gouda Gouda, all the dudes from Gouda Gouda that aren't playable, but are all canonically servants. By the way, if they were female, they'd probably be playable by now. But anyway, yeah, there's so many males from Gouda Gouda that aren't playable. Right? There's just too many to count at this point. You got a fuckload of them, right? And yeah, they're not playable. And you got Agravain, right? Which, what the hell's happening with that one? Yeah, it just takes so long, dude. And even like Nukehead. Nukehead was an NPC for a long time. And it took them like, I don't know, 3 years or some crap to make her playable, so Yeah, they're pretty slow when it comes to making NPCs playable. So they're kind of like, yeah, maybe down the line. And like, so I think the cowgirl, right? She's probably good. The gunslinger, she's probably going to be playable. But, so, okay, here's why I think she's going to be playable. It's because her name is question mark, and because they didn't tell you. A lot of these other NPCs have a flushed out role in the story, so they're created for the purpose of flushing out that story, right? She is only teased in Saber Wars 2. She doesn't do anything. She's just hanging out with Billy, right? And she's at the end for like a promo, right? And they don't tell you her name. They didn't tell you her name in the magazine. So you don't do that if you're not planning on using them again, right? So the fact that she's like a mystery, they're obviously going to use her again, and then they'll just make her playable then, right? So she's getting in. But like Maxwell's demon and stuff, you know, he's been around for a long time. I mean, like Jesus, like 6 years or something. And, you know, they haven't done it yet. I really do think, though, Maxwell's Demon's going to get an out because of Redline. I think because of Fate Redline, he's probably going to get added eventually. And I really hope so. I'll be pissed if he's not.
Oh.
Yeah, I saw that. They were throwing shade at DW in a very Japanese way. So Japan will not openly, like, bash people. They won't openly bash employees. They'll say they quit even if they got fired. Japanese culture is just very much like that. They do not... It was kind of like, remember when Tucson was talking about PvP? That interview, it was just so obvious he personally thought PvP was a fucking stupid idea and he did not want to add it, but you know, the higher ups are kind of trying to make him try to figure it out to add it, right? That was obvious in that interview, right? And it was the same thing, but now again, the translations are kind of iffy with the... I've seen some translators pretty much saying X and other translators saying Y with the interview. So I'm not sure, but from what I was seeing, they were kind of stealth mode shitting on DW's business practice, and like that was very much a thing from what I could tell. And we've all suspected that. I mean, you don't have to be Sherlock Holmes, dude. I mean, DW did a lot of stupid shit. Sakura Wars was terrible. The people that worked for DW said they were stupid. They said they were pulling staff off of FGO. They were pulling money off of it. They said that. Literally, employees of DW were saying that the higher ups of DW were fucking stupid and they were making and they said there were people the guy that pretty much confirmed as much as a leaker can confirm that he worked for DW, right? Because what he did to prove that he worked for them, because people were doubting him, was he started releasing information about updates before they happened, and then they were correct every time. So that guy was pretty much as confirmed as a leaker could be confirmed as for working for DW. And he was saying that there were developers that were working on FGO that were forcibly pulled off of FGO to work on Sakura Wars, and they were so upset about that they quit the company entirely. That is so bad for your business, right? And that's obviously bad for FGO, right? Yeah, and I don't think it's Tucson's fault. You know, I don't agree with everything Tucson has done, but I think a lot of issues that like Tucson has had to take blame for is it's the executives making the bad decisions, and he just takes the brunt of it, right? He's not in charge of hiring. He's not in charge of who's on what team. He's not in charge of budget, right? He's not in charge of any of that shit, right? So a lot of FGO's problems, I do not think are Tucson's fault, right? Now, I'm sure some of them are. He's not perfect, right? I'm sure he's made some bad decisions, right? Like FGO has a lot of problems, but I really do think the lion's share of FGO's problems are not Tucson's fault. And if anything, I think he's tried his best to prevent them, and he just can't because, you know, his hands are tied behind his back if you look at how that company was structured. But anyway, in that interview, they were pretty much saying, fuck DW, thank goodness it's lasagna now, and, you know, because, like, their creative lead fired or got quit or whatever, and, you know, now they don't have to worry about, like, DW's, you know, pulling, because that's the thing, I'm telling you, there's no way Type Moon and Aniplex were happy about Sakura Wars. Because even if Sakura Wars was a success, they didn't see any of the money from it, and I think that is why they bought them out. Because they were like, oh my god, DW is trying to, like, swindle us, right? That doesn't mean the FGO team is trying to swindle us, but DW as a company, I think, was, like, trying to fuck with them by trying to make another hit success with Sega, right? And they were pulling staff off of FGO. And Aniplex, I don't think, was happy about that. Now, this is what I think happened, right? Because I think there is staff at DW that Aniplex likes and Type Moon likes. Like, absolutely. And that's why they transferred a lot of the staff over. And that's why they had, like, DW helping them with Melty Blood back in the day, right? So I think there is people that work at DW that Type Moon likes and Aniplex likes. but the company of DW, I think they fucking hate. And I think they're actually, that's reasonable considering what a lot of DW did. I mean, you look at their earnings reports, that was fucking pathetic, right? With the Soccer Wars failure. So I think that's what happened, is there were individuals at DW that they were big fans of and they got along with very well. Probably Tucson, right? Because he survived the purge. So they liked them, but yeah, I don't think they liked DW as a company. And I mean, rightfully so. I don't like DW as a company. They're terrible. So yeah, hopefully we never have to hear from DW again, and that's just done. And I don't know, that interview gave me some hope. I mean, it made me worried because I think Nasu, look, I have no hate for Nasu as a person. And I think he has good taste with video games because he is a huge Dark Souls fan and Bloodborne and Elden Ring and all that, right? So, you know, man after my own heart in that department. But I don't think Nasu is a good video game developer. I don't, and he's a writer, so of course not. If you look at his decisions with a lot of video game related stuff, I don't think Nasu is a good video game developer. I think he's rather bad at it. I still like him, you know, as a person, although I don't know him like personally. I don't know how he like treats his family, right? But like, you know, he seems, you know, cool enough. But yeah, I don't think he's a good video game developer. And like when you look at like him talk, he fucking was talking about how he wanted more events to be like Imaginary Scramble, because it was like, he was like, oh wow, this is totally. He worded it as like he wanted more events where you're like, wow, is this even F-Go? Because it's so different. That Imaginary Scramble wasn't that. Like the fact that he said that, I'm like, are you kidding me? Imaginary Scramble was like window dressing to try to act like it's being really different. But you were literally just doing 40 AP nodes to farm a point ladder to open up the map in a linear fashion. That sounds like every F-Go event ever. Right? It just had window dressing. So that's like what I don't want to see out of F-Go, is like that really shallow, you know, attempt at changing things, but it's not, it doesn't have meaningful gameplay effects, right? And to me, what I really want to see, now chat, you might disagree with me on this. My chat really might and that's fine. I think it's reasonable to disagree with me here, but where I want to see uniqueness in F-Go, I still want it to mostly be the normal combat system. I just want what we're fighting to be more interesting. I don't have a problem with the normal F-Go combat system. I think it's fine. I just want to be fighting enemies and mini-bosses or bosses, and, you know, I want that to be more interesting, right? And like Grailfront. The reason I don't like Grailfront is because it's not the normal combat system, and their made-up combat system sucks. Now, I'm okay with like the board and moving pieces around, that's fine, but when you actually go into a combat scenario, I want it to be a regular combat scenario. Because I think this game has been built ground up with this combat system in mind, and it's really difficult to not use it at that point, right? So when they try to do this wacky shit, I think it's just bad, right? So I would rather, you can do Grailfront, but I'd rather use the regular combat system. I mean, I don't know if people have a problem with the combat system or not. I don't know. That's the thing. I could see people not liking it, but to me, I want to see creativity in ways like Tesla Fest or Edmund Tower event or Grailfront, but you know, again, don't fuck up the combat system that much, right? So I'm not saying you can't do like mini game stuff and like meta stuff beyond the combat system, but like to me, I just want the combat system to be used better. I don't need them to reinvent the wheel with the combat system, right? And I haven't seen that complaint either. That's the thing. I haven't seen people like, oh my god, the F-Go combat system is just terrible. So they need to like reinvent everything. Like I haven't seen that. But yeah, it looks like, I mean, listen, my chat, most people are fine with the combat system. But, you know, I could see people being like, oh my god, this combat system is so boring. But I think a lot of like the stuff that you might see as boring comes more from them using the combat system poorly. Okay, let's see. These are the only 3 enemies left, so I might as well NP. Wasn't really paying attention to what the fuck was happening. Okay, surely Sanson can do 48k with his NP, and should've done the buzz drop, but surely he's gonna do 48k here, right? He's NP 5. Okay, 53k, there we go. Now he can smack this thing and we still NP it. All good. Because most of my favorite times in F-Go have to do with the normal combat system. You know, the Edmund Tower event, Tesla Fest, Good of Final, right? Fluffy, Lost Belt 5-2, right? The gameplay and that stuff was awesome, right? So like, yeah, you don't have to reinvent the wheel every 5 seconds. Because really, that's the problem I think with with Grailfront is like it's too gimmicky. The core combat system isn't there. Now, according to them in the interview, now I think this is an exaggeration, but this is what they said. They said Grailfront is only like 20% complete. So they have like, they're wanting to like, and I can believe that. There is a lot more you could do with it. You could have like Fire Emblem-esque skills that could be equipped to characters that are unique to the game mode and stuff. Like there is a lot you can do with it. But I think first off, in order, this is a big one. The AI needs to be a lot better because the maps suck. I was gonna say that the maps in Grailfront suck. And the reason these suck is because the AI is so stupid that if you gave them like a freer map, like you might see in like a proper Fire Emblem game, the AI couldn't operate in it, right? So that's actually, if you want to make Grailfront a thing, that's what I want to see. I want to see the maps be way more open form, like it is in Fire Emblem, right? Y'all get what I'm talking about, right? Because in Grailfront, it's like literally hallways. Everything is connected by a one-by-one thing, right? It's very lines. And that doesn't work very well, right? Now you can have areas where it's like where it choke points, right? So you got like an open field and it choke points into a hallway into an open field or whatever, or an open room or a castle wall or whatever the fuck. And that's what Fire Emblem does generally. Of course, you don't always want it to just be like a big giant square and you can move everywhere all the time. But yeah, I want like more interesting stuff like that. Because I remember Fire Emblem would have like a mission where you might be in like a fort and there's like 3 choke points where it's only one tile, so the enemies have to try to get in one tile, but there's 3 different choke points that are very far away from each other. And then inside the fort, it's rather large, so if they get in, it gets, crazy. Stuff like that, that's real variety. That's meaningful level design that is going to tangibly affect like a turn-based, top-down game like that. So I think a Grailfront needs way more freedom on the map, and that freedom allows the devs to make way more clever scenarios, right? It's right now the way that they do maps in Grailfront are very restrictive in terms of the creativity that you can have with the level design. And it also makes it really hard for your units to work together because they're in each other's way all the time and it's so linear and only this unit can only attack that unit. And it's shit. Like really it's shit. I think the map design in Grailfront is one of the biggest problems. But again, the reason the map design is so simplistic, I think, is them trying to hold the hand of how bad the AI is. Right? They don't have an AI system as robust as even like Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, right? That's a really old game now. But the AI in Fire Emblem Path of Radiance is way better than the Grailfront AI, right? But that's what their goal should be, in my opinion, is if they, because they said that Grailfront is only 20% complete. That's how they worded it. Now, I think that's an exaggeration, but if that's true, that other 80% needs to incorporate significantly better AI and significantly better maps. Because I'm really worried that the maps are always going to be this really linear, hallway bullshit. And it's bad, right? The maps are fucking atrocious, and there's no creativity. There's no none of the cool shit you see in like Fire Emblem map design. And I don't know about the newer Fire Emblem games because I don't play them, but at least like in the older ones, their creativity and like the map design there, you can't translate that to Grailfront. You just can't, and because the AI is so bad, right? And so they need to fix that. Because that could make a much better combat system. Like really, right now, I don't like Grailfront at all. I think it sucks. But I think it is salvageable, and I think AI and map design is how you do it. And then yeah, maybe add a lot more like mode-specific stuff, because that allows you to balance it better. Because obviously you don't want to nerf and buff things on that regular craft essences. We shouldn't be using regular craft essences. Let me put it that way. Those need to go. No regular craft essences in Grailfront. There needs to be unit-specific skills that are tied to that game mode. I think that would be much better. But yeah, I'll be interested to see what they do with the mode. But right now, to me, it feels so hopeless. Like, Cairo, I want your opinion on this because I know you've played both. Grailfront compared to the roguelike and Arknights. Right? To me, it's like a travesty, right? The roguelike and Arknights is so much better than Grailfront, right? And I don't even see how Grailfront could get to that point, right? It is so far behind that I would rather they drop Grailfront and work on something else. That's how I feel about it. But I don't think they're going to. I don't think they're going to. But so I want them to fix it. If they're going to stick with Grailfront as the side game mode, I want them to improve it dramatically. But it is so far It's so far away from being like worth a damn. Yeah, Grail Front, I would never want to do the Grail Front again. Every time I beat a stage, I would never want to do it again. And that's messed up, because when I fought Fluffy, I wanted to fight Fluffy again. Right? There's challenge quests when they are repeatable for like the 1 week they're available, I do repeat them a bunch. Right? If I could fight Anniversary Gwaine, I'd fight that all the time. We fight Richard all the time, and he's not even that special, no offense. I'm sorry, no, Richard, you're very special, but you're not special in terms of pure gameplay. Okay, there we go. That'll keep chat from killing me. Anyway, but yeah, even Richard is his replay value. I would just never want to play Grail Front again, right? I would never want to do that again. No, chat, Richard is special. He's just, you know, the gameplay is, you know, a little vanilla. I'll just put it that way. But, you know, Richard is, you know, I would miss him greatly if he was gone. I would actually create a new account with the sole purpose of getting Richard again if I accidentally lost Richard. I really would be upset if I accidentally lost the Richard stage where we couldn't play it anymore. I would be very upset. The truth comes out now. Don't you twist my words, chat. None of this nonsense. Such a travesty. Chat really loves Richard, but chat. You know what we need? We need a Richard emote, and we need an Ash emote. Like, Ash has failed us so much in Arknights, and just such stupid ways. We need, like, an Ash, like, derp emote. Like, that needs to happen. Like, I like Ash and everything, but we really do need an Ash derp emote. Like, she's, like, stunning herself or something. Because, wow, dude. Like, that between the Tallulah stage moment and what happened last time I streamed, oh my god, I just... Like, people literally say Ash moment right in my chat now. So it's like, we need an Ash emote. Yeah, you could do like an exaggerated wink like that. You could do that. Yeah, either that or derp, I think. Or her stunning herself. Well, there is, so the Richard thing is pretty deep. So we have a Fluffy emote called Fluffy Richard, where he is wearing, it's on our Discord if you want to see it, where he is wearing a costume of the dragon that we call Richard. So yeah, we have a Fluffy Richard emote, and it's that deep. So yeah, Richard is the dragon from Gilgamesh's interlude. But yeah, Fluffy is Fluffy, right? Let's be honest here. Fluffy used to be Asterios, but he kind of got replaced. So he's the original Fluffy, or Fluffy Bull Boy. We got that, I suppose. Why Richard though? I mean, really no reason. We were like, we really should name him. Now in the stage, he's just called Ancient Dragon, but in like the text beforehand, they give him some like Ancient Dragon name. But when it was just on JP, obviously we didn't know that. And I mean, literally, who cares? It's interlude lore is trash, so no one cares about that. Anyway, so we was like, we should name this guy, and I just asked chat what we should name him, and several people said Richard, and it felt right. So, you know, he's Richard now. I don't know, I still think Oberon is just Bug Boy, really. I've never really saw him as Mothman. That always worked fine for... But yeah, anyway, yeah, I don't know. I don't even like Oberon, so I'm not a good barometer for this, but... The thing is, it's not even Oberon. It's literally, there is not a % of Oberon in that character. Like, Oberon is a ruler and has nothing to do with any of that. It's just Vortigern. That's what they call, everyone calls it Oberon Vortigern because they have this stupid headcanon where they want to think that it's actually Oberon. It's just pure copium. It's not Oberon in any capacity. It's just really insane Vortigern that they warped out of recognition. It's Foobar Vortigern. That's what it is. It's Foobar Vortigern, right? And everyone wishes it was Oberon because no one likes Vortigern. I like Vortigern, but no one actually likes Vortigern. Everyone just likes Oberon, and they want to pretend that Vortigern is Oberon. But it's not. There's 0% Oberon in that character. It is 100%, well, it's a lot of just, you know, Lost Belt specific nonsense, but there's no Oberon in it. None. Zero. That's lore accurate. There's no Oberon there. Yeah, it's literally Vortigern that's like so, his Saint Craft has been so modified by Lost Belt 6 that he thinks he's Oberon, but he's not. He's just really weird teenage version of Vortigern that's been warped to be Oberon, but then has edgy stuff because of the Vortigern past, and now it's all weird and fucking stupid. So basically what I'm saying is they ruined Oberon and they ruined Vortigern at the same time. And the only reason people like the characters is because they just really like edgy, conflicted guys. But it has nothing to do with Vortigern or Oberon. And I mean that. I don't see anybody that actually likes the character for what he's based on. I don't see that at all. They just want their edgy Oberon, really. That's what they want. Which is fine. That's fine, but that's just not what the character is. Right? So it's just fucking copium. But yeah, it sucks for everybody, because the few Vortigern fans that are out there wanted their like Black Dragon, old warmonger dude, and he already had a voice actor from Garden of Babylon, and at least he's canonically normal there. But yeah, we didn't get that either. So I feel like everyone got screwed over, and then everyone's just on like extreme copium trying to like fan fiction Vortigern into being Oberon, but he's not. So. Kind of ridiculous. I mean, everyone just calls him Oberon. They don't even call him Vortigern, but he's literally not Oberon. Like canonically, he is not Oberon. And Oberon does exist canonically, but that ain't it, right? And we'll never get it either, right? Because from what I understand, canonical Oberon would pretty much act like the fake version, because like Vortigern is putting on a show in stage 1 and 2, right? To an extent. But like he's acting roughly like Oberon would act like, maybe minus all the lying, right? So stage 1 would be very similar to what Oberon would be like, and he'd be a ruler instead. And yeah, no edgy undertone there. And yeah, you wouldn't have the stage 3 nonsense, but... Yeah, people don't call him Oberon Vortigern or Vortigern, they just call him Oberon, which is just like, that's the copium talking. That would have been cool to have a folklore Oberon and then Shakespeare Oberon. That would have been, and then you could have them you could have that kind of internal conflict there. You could have done an external conflict like Emiya and Shiro, right? There's all kinds of ways you could do that, but yeah, I really don't like what they did. I can't, I'm not gonna sugarcoat my opinion. I think what they did was really lame. I think it was lame for Oberon, and I think it was lame for Vortigern, and I don't think it added anything to Lost Belt 6. Because what everyone tries to convince me of is what it added to Lost Belt 6 ultimately is just them saying a cool conflicted character that's edgy. It has nothing to do with Vortigern, and it has nothing to do with Oberon, right? And you don't need it to be Vortigern specifically in order to have a male character that's like, conflicted and yada yada, right? Because that kind of character is just really popular, and that's fine. That's fine. I'm not hating on people's taste here. It's just that doesn't need to be Vortigern. You could have accomplished the same thing with the story, the same thing with the character, the same thing with the conflict, all that stuff. You can do that, and it doesn't need to be Vortigern. You could either pick a character that would be more appropriate for, because I'm sorry, there's nothing about Vortigern's there are obviously different takes on Vortigern in the different legends. Ain't none of them that. There is nothing to base that on whatsoever, right? And not really with Oberon either, so like that is just completely random. But there are characters you could have pulled from that would have been more appropriate for that kind of duality, edgy, conflicted nature issue thing, right? You could have done that, and it didn't need to be fucking Vortigern. Like, absolutely not. And it just really annoys me because I'm a big Vortigern fan, and I always have been. I've been talking about him for years, and I never even thought he'd get added. And he does get added, and it's that. And I'm just like, fucking Christ. And then I know, like, Oberon fans that don't give a shit about Vortigern, and that's fine. But they didn't really even get what they wanted out of Oberon. And now all these, like, fucking people like an edgy teenagers, they're the ones that are eating good when... That's fine! I'm not mad that, like, they got a character that they like, but there was no reason for Oberon and Vortigern to get shot down in the process, right? Like, we could have had our cake and ate it too, right? I don't know if I worded that correctly, but anyway. Yeah, it all seems very unnecessary to me, the way they went about it. And I don't know, chat, way deep down, and this is where I'm on pure copium. I have this ridiculous hope that maybe they will still use regular Vortigern. But the logic in me tells me that's never going to happen because they almost never do that. We don't get regular Paul Bunyan, we don't get regular Musashi even. And regular Musashi is way more likely than like regular Vortigern. And like, you know, they've not canonically erased him. He still exists, right? And he'd have probably the same voice actor and all that, but I think he would have had a chance of getting used in his regular form if the crazy nonsense version wasn't so popular. Because the problem is now that they're going to use Vortigern as an excuse to put in, you know, Oberon Vortigern again. Because he's so popular, right? So if he wasn't so popular, they might have used regular Vortigern. But there's no chance they use up a slot in a story or an event on regular Vortigern when they could just use that slot on Oberon Vortigern again. And that's going to make them so much money. So I just don't think it's going to happen. Because of that, I think the odds of it happening are just, I mean, like, so minuscule that I just don't think it sucks. Because I'm such a fan of Vortigern, and I thought he would have made such a cool antagonist in an anime, you know, Fate setting. But yeah, it's not going to happen. But yeah, there's a little bit of hopium. I got a little bit of hopium in me where I'm just like, but what if it did happen though? Right? Like, what if we did get that? But yeah, that's not looking likely. Can you... Oh my god, can you imagine? Oh my god. Oh my god, what you just said scares... Oh my god, no. Chat, would they do that? Would they replace original Vortigern from Garden of Avalon with the fucking... Are you, like... Oh my god. Like, that would make no sense lore-wise. Even what they said in Lost Belt 6, that makes no sense. But he is so popular that they might just force it, because he's so popular. Oh my god, dude. If they, like, redid Garden of Avalon, like they made it an OVA or something, and they cut regular Vortigern from it, and they incorporated teenager bullshit. Oh my god, dude. Oh my god. That would be, even for them, that would be stupid, because, like, everything in Lost Belt 6 confirmed that, you know, the Garden of Avalon one is still the regular Vortigern, and then this is the really bizarre, you know, fucked up alternate nonsense one, right? And that, oh god. I don't think they would do that, but this is what I think they would do. They would not stick to the original, like, design philosophy of what they were originally doing with Vortigern. They would still, like, make him, though, like, older and, like, pure dragon and stuff, but I think they would throw a bone to his Oberon bullshit just because it's so popular. I think they would still kind of use that design and stuff. They would try to incorporate it. I think they would do that. I really do. I don't think they would go back to the original concept. And they probably wouldn't use the original voice actor either, which sucks because he was killing it. But yeah, I think they wouldn't copy paste him in, but they would, like, throw a bone to it. And I think that's all Vortigern's ever going to be now. I'm so annoyed by that. I just think he's always going to be tied to this stupid Oberon horse shit. Because it's so popular. It's just so fucking popular. And I do not see them ever thinking like, oh yeah, we should just do regular Vortigern, right? Like, I don't think so. But yeah, I'll be happy to be wrong. I would love to be proven wrong on this one, but same for Morgan. I don't think they're gonna do regular Morgan. I mean, she might have slightly better odds because they could still use the design and whatnot, and then just change the personality. But really, she's so popular too that I don't really see them using regular Morgan in any serious capacity. Like maybe a little bit, but nothing major. Morgan though is such a big name that, you know, I don't know, maybe she definitely has better odds than Vortigern does, but again, the Lost Belt stuff for her, which I know she's so popular, I'm really going against the grain here. Like, I'm really going against the grain here. But I really don't like Lost Belt Morgan. I didn't need the famous antagonist of Arthur to be turned into this massive waifu. Like, she is one of the most on-the-nose, like, waifu characters ever. She's just constantly talking about marrying you and stuff. Like, it's so on the nose. I really didn't need that for Morgan. I really didn't. Now, I know a lot of people like it, but the thing is, I stand by this. I think most people that like that Morgan character, and it's okay if they like her, that's totally fine, but I think they would have liked that character even if she wasn't Morgan, right? She could have been named anything or been based on any other character, and they would have liked her just as much. They just like the whole tragic heroine thing and yada yada, right? Like, I don't think her being Morgan matters very much. I really don't. You know, it might matter for like one person out there, but for the most part, I really don't think it matters. And I really do think the waifu stuff is really on the nose, right? It's too much for me. And that's just not what I wanted out of the villain Morgan, right? And they built her up as a villain with like Mordred's backstory and all that kind of stuff. So I just wanted the, you know, evil, but, you know, intelligent, although she never was really portrayed as intelligent, but they say she's intelligent, but nothing she did was intelligent, but they could have fixed that. Anyway, but yeah, I wanted, you know, badass, evil as shit, witch, antagonist Morgan, right? And we did not get that. Ruler Morgan is apparently what that would have been, which is really weird, but she was in it for like 5 seconds, and then we got Super Waifu Morgan, because of course we did, but yeah. I don't mean that, because Fate never used that story with the Green Knight. That really was one of Morgan's lowest points, but Fate never used that. But Fate never really, yeah, they said Morgan was really smart and dangerous and like the equal to Merlin and all that, but everything they'd ever detailed about Morgan and Fate was normally pretty stupid, and I'm like, what are we doing here? But they never detailed that much, so, you know, they could salvage that, I think, pretty easily and, you know, still make her smart. I have no idea how Morgan qualifies for Ruler, but honestly, I feel like Type Moon doesn't care about what they originally said about Ruler. Like, the original stuff they said in the character material books for, like, APOC and stuff, that, like, detailed what Ruler was and how you became one and what you do, they have not respected that in any capacity. Like, it's kind of funny, because they basically made a character material book that said that Ruler isn't about being a ruler as in a leader, right? It's more about ruling over the Grail War and being like trusted by the Grail to enforce the rules of the Grail War and stuff. That's what Ruler was supposed to be. And I will say, Zeus is one of the only times they kind of made an extension of that worked, because Zeus was basically being what Joan of Arc was to the APOC War to the other gods. Right? Because even though Joan of Arc is not a very like mean person, but like what her powers are in APOC is she has like a lot of control. She can really brute force the other servants and like control them. Like, she really rules over the other servants. Now she's supposed to be a bystander and like stay out of it and stuff, but she has a lot of power over the servants and stuff. And that's what rulers do in Grail Wars, right? And that's what Zeus does to the other gods in Lost Belt 5. Now it's still a stretch, but you can really see it. He basically has that like forcible control over their own powers and stuff on the other gods, and so he's a ruler because of that. Now again, that is a real stretch, but the parallel is there, right? The parallel is absolutely there. But a lot of the other rulers are basically like the thing that they said rulers weren't, right? It's like, oh, they're ruling over things, right? Like, it's just, yeah, it's very silly. So yeah, the ruler class is pretty bizarre these days, and I don't really get it anymore. But you know, at least it's not as weird as like alter ego and some of that nonsense. Like alter egos are pretty silly, I would say. Probably should have done their attack up. Yeah, Martha, they've actually hinted at could be a ruler. They did that in like the APOC manga when they were describing the class. They showed like an outline of Martha, and obviously there's a summer version, but they weren't referring to the summer version. They were referring to like a normal ruler Martha. And summer Martha is kind of hinting at that anyway, because she's like a warped saint graph, but it's like, yeah, she probably can be a proper ruler. Even though there's more weird rulers than proper rulers now, but you know, welcome to Fate. Yeah, there's a lot of stupid shit in Fate, but you know, there is good stuff still too. It's not all bad. But see, the thing is, and Cairo has articulated this to me, and I think we're in complete agreement here. A lot of the normies have quit. That's the thing. The people that liked the normal designs and liked you know, history and mythology plus anime, but not fucking all this crazy bullshit. A lot of those people aren't in the community anymore, right? They're gone because they're sick of it. And most of the people that wanted, like, had standards for the gameplay, they quit, right? So the majority opinion now is the people that remained, and that's the people that like the crazy space designs, and they don't have standards for the gameplay and that kind of thing. So yeah, it just is what it is. And there's a middle ground, right? And I that's where I think there is, like, middle ground, right? You can have your designs like Van Gogh and have your normal stuff too, right? Because Van Gogh's design didn't need to be Van Gogh. And there must be some Van Gogh fans in my chat right now, right? I'm searching people in my chat right now like Van Gogh's design. And this is not a loaded question. If you like Van Gogh's design and like the voice actress and all that stuff, right? Would you like it any less if it was, you know, it was actually named after the nymph that's the actual character, or some other legend or whatever? Like, would you suddenly like the character less? Is there anything about it being Van Gogh that is important? Because I don't think there is. So now some Van Gogh fans might feel differently. I like Van Gogh, and I would like if it wasn't Van Gogh. Yeah, that's what I would assume. I don't see why it needs to be Van Gogh, right? Because I'm not hating. That's the thing I would really try to get across, is I'm not hating on sometimes having these more out there designs and you know, space stuff and all that you can still do that. I don't see the need to drag down a lot of like classical stuff while you're at it and then never do the more classical version. That's what really bothers me, is they never get around to doing the normie stuff. But yeah, I would hope that most Van Gogh fans could like see that common ground where it's like, yeah, you can like this design, you can like the voice acting, all that kind of stuff, but you know, we don't need to constantly make this the normal stuff and then throw that stuff under the bus, right? And here's the thing, and I feel this way about a lot of the stuff that I like. So let's say you really like Van Gogh, or Kiara, or you know, Kokusai, or you know, whatever it is, some of the more wacky stuff. You know, the female Jacques Demoli. Like, maybe I'm really weird for this, but like a lot of times if I have like an abnormal taste like that, I don't really need it to be every character in the game. And I kind of enjoy having like the bulk of the team be more normal, so the wacky thing that I like, or the unique thing that I like, stands out more. I don't need them to add every character to be this crazy over the top thing, right? Like, you need your Shakespeare, normal Shakespeare, right? To make the weird thing stand out. If everything weird is weird, nothing is weird, right? You know, I was saying about in Arknights, I'd always liked how the Rainbow Six people were the only people that spoke English, and now that almost all the characters can speak English, well, I guess not yet, but now that they're adding the English voice acting, they're kind of less special now. Now, that's, you know, not the best comparison, because I will say they should just have English voice acting. People should be able to enjoy it in the language of, you know, that they speak and stuff, and that's fine. But it's the same principle, where like Rainbow Six characters do feel a little bit less special now in Arknights because other people now speak English. But yeah, so like in FGO, I feel like you don't, if you have everything being super wacky and stuff, it doesn't like stand out anymore, right? It doesn't make it as special anymore. So yeah, I really want them to have a healthy backbone of just normal stuff, for God's sakes. Even if I don't personally like the wacky stuff, I think it's still better for the wacky stuff if you know, are more, sparing with it. Same with the gunslingers. You know, I'd like more than literally one gunslinger, but you know, I don't need 90% of the Fate cast to be gunslingers, right? I certainly want more than just Calamity Jane and I can barely call her a gunslinger, but Billy, I need it more than Billy, but I don't need it to be the majority of the game. Because half the fun is murdering all of the weebs with the gunslinger, right? Don't you see? That's like the thing. So I need them to keep adding the normal shit so I can shoot it in the face, right? See, that's the trick. So if they just started adding nothing but gunslingers, and like 90% of the cast was gunslingers, I'd be like, okay, this is kind of dumb. Even though I really like gunslingers, I don't need all of Fate to be gunslingers, right? I want to shoot King Arthur in the face with a revolver, right? The cool part of that is that King Arthur doesn't also have a revolver. You see, that's the thing, right? So yes, add more gunslingers, but add a lot more normal shit too. You know, yeah, I don't need Fate Gun Order, right? Exactly. Like, what makes Kurutsugu special is that he is a minority, right? It's abnormal to have a gun and when you have a story about history and mythology and, you know, because most of the romanticized stuff isn't the stuff with guns. But there is some, you know, the Wild West. The Wild West is romanticized and is a legend and stuff. So yes, I want my guns, but I want the majority to be, you know, King Midas, Genghis Khan, King Arthur, Blackbeard, although he can have guns, but, you know, flintlocks suck. Anyway, you know, I want the samurai. I want the you know, I want that stuff. I want give me a genie, right? Give me this shit. And then the gunslingers, even though there's gonna be more than one of them, there's still gonna be a huge minority. But then if you're like a big fan of gunslingers, you get to go into this, you know, all this crazy shit and go murder them all with guns, with your gunslingers, right? Or same for pirates, right? Pirates make up that pie I just listed, but not every goddamn character needs to be a pirate. Right, and if you're a big pirate fan, you get the pirates that do exist, and now you go kill King Midas with your pirates, right? You go kill King Arthur with your pirates. That's the good shit, right? I don't need everything being fucking crazy, gender bent nonsense, right? Like we need we need a lot of normal stuff for the not normal stuff to be special, right? That's what I want, and I think that's actually, I think that's pretty normal, right? I actually think it's not normal in which taste I have, right? Which niches that I like the most or whatever are abnormal, but I think most people, I think, can get behind that. Okay, I guess we're Buster chaining here. Now we'll do that one first because it's not gonna crit, so... And then, of course it crits. Fuck you. Okay, game. Jesus, indeed. So I have not played Dungeon, and it's not because I don't want to. I've watched it, the music's great, gameplay looks very fun. It's just because I don't have very good eyesight, and I don't think I could play it. I have a hard time with games that have just that much going on at the screen at the same time. You know, unfortunately my eyesight is just trash. So I don't think I could play it. And because I like it so much, I kind of... This is weird, but like I don't even want to like try it because I'm so confident that I wouldn't be able to like play it properly and enjoy it. That I you know, it's kind of just like the unobtainable thing that it looks awesome, but I you know, I can't really, you know, have it. So if I get robot eyes though, then I'll you know, I'll download it immediately and I'll play it and be very happy. But yeah, the music's great, the gameplay looks very fun. The joke is, you know, funny, and because it's not like a big serious, you know, story game, you can do that. And so yeah, honestly, Into the Gungeon might be like a joke, but it's done so well. It looks amazing to me. So yeah, I'd love to play it. So yeah, maybe someday if we get like, you know, robot enhanced eyes, I'll jump on that. Okay, let's see. This thing has 233,000 life. Can't say I'm happy about that. Can't rainbow chain. Can't taunt. A lot of bad stuff happening right here. Rank 1 Sergeant up. That'll do it. Okay, chat, I get it now. It just hit me. I get why Lancelot fans are mad. I get it. Because it's not even about just his total performance. So they buff a lot of vanilla skills, right? Like when characters have like really vanilla skills, they get around to buffing them. Lancelot has nothing but 3 super vanilla skills. And they've never buffed any of them. Like Dear Mid had a vanilla Sergeant skill, right? And they just buffed it. They haven't buffed Lancelot's, and they haven't buffed the vanilla Star Absorb, and they haven't buffed the vanilla crit. Now, I stand by that his total value is still decent. It's not amazing. I absolutely not. I would never argue that his... But like, him, if you can set him up, and it's easy to set him up with Qin Gong, Hans, units like that, right? You can protect him a little bit, give him some value. He can do a big, hard-hitting NP, then make a bunch of fucking stars, and then crit really hard. That's good. Like, if you actually think that is like on par with Jekyll and Hyde problems, you're delusional, right? He does not have Geronimo problems, he does not have Gilia's problems, he does not have Jekyll and Hyde problems. But it's not like amazing either, right? And I've always said that. You know, he's solid, but it's nothing crazy, and a lot of other berserkers are way better. But then it's just annoying that he has 3 vanilla-ass skills, and they've never buffed even one of them. Right? Where most other units that have 3 vanilla skills, at least one of them has been buffed, right? Not Geronimo, but you know. And Jekyll and Hyde is, you know, I think we can all agree, well, 90% of us can agree, that Jekyll and Hyde is just the fucking worst thing in the game. Right? He's fucking terrible. He is so pointless. His buff was trash. His skills are all trash. He is just terrible, right? Jekyll and Hyde is in the toilet, right? But still, Lancelot, really, it's like, why are all three of his skills super vanilla and they haven't buffed it? Like, really, looking at how they just buffed Diarmid, I'm like, well, why doesn't Lancelot get something for his Star Bomb skill, right? Like, or I'm sorry, his Star Djinn skill, right? So yeah, he's waited so long because he's been in the game for a really long time, and yeah, day one I think. Yeah, I think it's day one actually. He was already in the game before Fate Zero event, and yeah, they've just never done anything for him. So even though he's not the worst character in the game, he is undeniably vanilla, and he hasn't gotten anything, right? Because like, yes, Jekyll and Hyde sucks, but they have technically buffed him. Obviously, it's trash, but at least they've done something. They haven't done anything for Lancelot, and he's just sitting here in suffering. So, yeah, they really need to do something about that. Yeah, it's true. Jekyll and Hyde was London. I will say though, no one can ever say they were robbed because of Jekyll and Hyde. Even though Jekyll and Hyde was added in London, he is the worst character in the game. I mean, he is just unbearably bad. So yeah, he deserves every buff that he gets, and he's still terrible. So he needs to be buffed just so much. There is so much wrong with Jekyll and Hyde. It is not a good time. You know what? I guess I do quick last because we just can't do anything of value on this turn. We just hope Lancelot doesn't die. We don't got no math skills. You dick. Also, you dick. Look at them all going after Lancelot. Okay, you know what? I want to hit this one because it's got more health, but we have like an assassin in the back, I think. I should have saved the Star Bomb for this. Why did I not save the Star Bomb for this? Alright, well, nope, I can't. I gotta do it. I gotta hit the big one. He's got more health. Although we only crit one time, although it still would have overkilled quite a lot. I'm pretty sure I have an assassin in the back. Okay, you could crit with that 50%. That would be swell. There you go. Even if he lives, he's like low enough that I can finish him off with any class. I really wish he would just sit down and like really change the way that he addressed buffing. Right? You shouldn't get buffed once and have to wait like a year to get buffed again. Right? Like, they're just, because some of these units are terrible. Now, like, for like a lot of the units, like higher rarity, they don't need a lot, so it is okay to just buff them a little bit here and there, right? That's fine. But, like, some of these units, like Jekyll and Hyde, like, just fix them! Like, just do it! You don't need to wait to do one buff or one strengthening quest once a year, or until they're relevant in an event. Just buff them. Just put it out. Just when an event happens or whatever, like, oh yeah, and by the way, we're doing all this stuff for Jekyll and Hyde. And like when he transforms, his skills are even stronger. If you already had his skills up from Jekyll form, you switch to the Hyde variants. You know, we're adding like stars per turn to the NP and an attack up. We're adding, you know, something to the crit skill and the Hyde form, like a star bomb. Just do it! Like, Jesus Christ! None of this stuff is hard on the development side because we're not adding like new effects into the game that need to be coded. It's really generic stuff. It's just numbers and it's really straightforward. So like, just for God's sakes, when a unit is that broken, just add a crap load to them and fix the shit out of them, right? And like, if you're worried about making them too good, just take the time to test it and mess around with it and make sure you do it right. You know, just like, there is no reason we should be on year 7 and Jekyll and Hyde is still such a broken, illogical mess of a toolkit. Because I could fix him in like 5 minutes, right? Now obviously it takes more than 5 minutes to implement the code, right? But in terms of actually mapping it out, and especially if you have a team of developers that should theoretically know what they're doing, this should just not be a problem, right? There should not be it should not take this much time to sort that shit out, right? Because it's pretty simple what the problems are, right? Like, there's a lot of them, but each of them are very simple. Most games where a character is like really bad, they just fix them. Right? Even Genshin Impact with I don't agree that Zhongli was that bad, but you know they just fixed it, right? They just changed it, right? You don't need to do this. You don't have to do all this hullabaloo about changing a fucking character. Okay, so we kind of messed up with our classes here. There is a chance of failure. Please no. Don't worry, if Samson can get his NP, guys. Gilius can give him NP up. So, you know, we're saved. Okay, I didn't need to focus that much on NP gain. I could have put the Buster last, but I didn't want to take any risks here. Hey look, Samson having a quick deck being bad because it doesn't make any sense with him. Makes sense with like Enkidu, but it does not make sense with Samson because his starting is bad, unlike Enkidu's. That's like the thing. Enkidu has a quick deck, and then he actually makes stars. Samson doesn't make any stars, and he doesn't have quick up or anything like that. So, like, what the hell? Oh my God, we are so close to losing. I guess quick chain again. Hey, Ephraim. What's up? Oh no. Okay, he can't die here because he had a target switch. Like how finally he got Buster cards where I might use them, but it's still better to do this. Oh, thank God. I did not want to lose that stage and have to do it again. Okay, chat. We're getting close to the real boss fights, but I am unbelievably hungry. So what I am going to do is I am going to take a break, I am going to get some food, and then we'll probably play some Arknights. You know, we're big on Arknights, so we'll play some of that. I really should work on a Fergus video, but I think I'll just do that tomorrow. But yeah, I am really hungry. I'm like feeling a little, you know, shaky because I'm so hungry. So I gotta eat something. And hey, check this out. Check this out. I can't keep playing, but we leveled. But boom. Look at that. Now the AP's wasted. I just store it for later. No big deal. Fucking love that. That's legitimately, you know, good system. So the only bad thing about this system is they don't give out the core apples very much. So far, they've given them out twice from an event, and then when they added new main story. But they only add main story like every 6 months, and I don't think you get that many per story. So they should probably change that. Really, just cut it. Just let you make just 40 AP blue apple. That's it. You don't need the other item. Just do that. I think it makes the game way better. Because now I don't stress out if I don't have time to play. And if I want to like sit down and farm a caster daily, I can just take all those days where I didn't play and put it into the caster daily to get the caster gems. But I don't like feel bad about it, right? It's great. So yeah, they should just cut the other item or make the other item pretty common, like easy to get. Like you get, hell, just get like, you know, 5 a week. That'd be good enough. Anyways, boys, I'm gonna go eat. Might take a little bit longer, might fix a bit more food, like more fancy, like not rush it, so it might take a little bit longer for me to get to Arknights, but we will play Arknights tonight. I'll ping you all on Discord, and then I might skip the co-op account tomorrow just because, one, I need to make a Fergus video, and two, I need to do the damn maze event. Like, I'm on floor 5, and I'm like, I don't know, 25% through it or something. So I just need to get that over with. So we might just like hold off on the co-op account just for like a day or two just to catch up. But we'll see. It's fun to you know, progress on this account. But alright lads, I'm out of here. And for my Arknights crew, I will see you in like 30 minutes to an hour or something like that. Peace!